All right. Hello. Good evening. Welcome to another live episode of the O&G StrikeZone. I'm Bryan Fulford. Over there on the left side of the screen is none other than Marcus Green. And on the right side of the screen, Kelvin Rozier. Gentlemen.
What up, yo?
What up? How y'all doing tonight?
Doing all right.
How's the weather in your
neighborhood?
That's like the topic right now. Topic A. How's the weather? Marcus?
It's cold. It is cold. So, I mean, it's supposed to get worse next week. But
what is cold? Are you in the single digits yet?
Not yet, but that's what they're talking about next week.
Snow?
Yeah, we had snow Monday, about 2 or 3 inches. Some other parts of the state and parts of the Northeast got hit worse than we did. We only got like 2 or 3 inches.
That's it, huh?
Yeah, but then it's supposed to get real cold, and we're preparing at work, and we had I never heard of it until I came up north, but like a natural gas curtailment. Basically, they tell industries like, "Hey, we're going to have to cut you back so we don't freeze out the people living in houses."
Wow.
Oh,
yeah.
I thought it had something to do with farting.
No.
Lord have mercy. What's the look? I know where I am. We're in the 40s. So given that you're about 3 to 4 hours north of me, what's it looking like in Tallahassee, Kelvin?
No, do you see what I got on? Turtleneck.
I mean, layers. It's turtleneck weather.
Turtleneck. I got corduroy pants on and a Letterman jacket.
Cool.
So
not corduroys. No, I can't remember the last time I done burned up corduroys. Good.
So for the rest of this week, as well into next week, it's not supposed to hit 60 degrees in Tallahassee, and the lows are anywhere from 28 to 32. Jeez, it's cold, brother.
Yeah, it's
well,
a little nippy for y'all.
Yeah, it's look, we had some 35, 40 degrees here in Orlando, and so everywhere, most of the places around the country are dealing with some kind of weather, whether it be cold or first off, I want to send some thoughts and prayers to folks who are in Los Angeles and California. I was watching the news, and just in case you're not in the news or watching the news, they're dealing with some I hate to say apocalyptic type weather, but it looks that way, when you start to see some of the video. But prayers to anyone, if you have some family or friends. I know definitely we got rattlers out there on the West Coast. So we
Karen Griffin.
Yeah. We hope that those who are in California and in that area, neck of the woods, I hope you're being safe. I hope you are safe. It's look, weather seems to be the story. I mean, it's like already we're only 8 days into 2025, and we didn't have. I mean, every day it has been something. It's man.
Buckle up. It's only getting started.
Yeah, man. Keep those prayers tight too, boy. I tell you, I've been praying a lot more than normal. So I'm telling you, I'm trying to start my 2025 off with prayer and God in my pocket. So I hope y'all are doing the same out there. Yeah, amen. Exactly. So hey, look, some of you might have missed our first show last Wednesday. So we will say Happy New Year to those who we haven't had a chance to see.
Happy New Year.
Yeah. So loaded up on tonight's show. We got a few guests we had lined up. Coming up in the bottom of hour one, we're going to talk to the recent inductee into the Black College Football Hall of Fame and a legend, a FAMU football legend, FAMU Football Hall of Famer and MEAC Hall of Famer, none other than one of the original Rat Boys 1.0. That's Jacquay Nunnally. Jacquay is going to be joining the show about 8:40. So make sure you tune in and get your questions in for Jacquay. Also, we had originally planned in the top of hour 2 to bring on Steve Wyche from NFL Network, but Marcus, we kind of found out, there's something we had to delay that because he's on standby, I guess, is it right? Because the NFL Network studios are in California, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. So he's on standby dealing with the things out there. So prayers to Steve and his family and friends and everybody there, and we hope that we'll petition and work to try to get him rescheduled for another episode. And then also in hour 2, we're going to talk to Ashley Coleman, Eli Patrick, a part of the FAMU exchange. Lots of things happening in the world of NIL. So we're going to bring on Ash and Colonel Eli, and we're going to kind of figure out where things are in 2025 with NIL, FAMU exchange, and all those things. So do we want to do roll call or do we want to jump right into it? I know we kind of talked about it, but where do you want to go? Because I know we can jump right into, we got some recruiting news to get into. We got some basketball recap stuff. So we got a lot of stuff to get into here. And I know Marcus is ready and fired up with the recruiting info, FAMU football recruiting. Well, what do you guys say? What do you want to do? Roll call or jump right into it?
I'm going to let Marcus call it.
Let's do roll call.
All right. I love it. Marcus says, let's go to roll call. So here we go. We're coming in hot and heavy, saying hello to all the Rattlers who always check in early. Whether you're watching us on the Jericho Broadcast Network's YouTube page, that's MyJBN Online. You might be watching us on Facebook, the Black College Sports Network, or on X or Twitter, as people still call it, or Instagram Live at O&G StrikeZone. Also Instagram and Facebook and X on O&G at O&G StrikeZone. You should be following us. However, in many ways, please make sure you're following us. Make sure you hit the thumbs up and the like button while you can. Let's jump right in. Look who's first in. Melissa Wilson, first one in the building. Jimmy Mack, she beat you in the door, Jimmy.
Oh.
But we say hello to you. Jimmy, thanks for being a JBN subscriber. Bull, what's good, Bull? Thanks for coming in.
Up, Bull?
Ken, checking in. Good to see you, Ken. Appreciate you. Alice. Ken and Alice, good to see you. Marcus, thank you for being a JBN subscriber, checking in as well. Ashton Harris, good to see you, Ashton. Thanks for checking in. P. Cole in the house. Stay warm up there. Meredith. Hey, Meredith.
What's up, Meredith?
Thank you for being a JBN subscriber as well.
My basketball family.
Good to see Doc in the building. Dr. Lori had a birthday right at the end of the year. Did some traveling. So good to see you back. Hopefully she's back in the States. I got to imagine she's back in the States. So happy New Year to you, Doc. Good to see you. Marvin Allen checking in from Duval.
What's up, Marvin?
Marcus, Marvin, JT in the house. JT as well. Good to see you, JT. Mary 305. Hey, Mary. Thank you for being a JBN.
Hey, Auntie.
I think Mary said it's like 50 down there in South Florida. So people losing their minds probably. 50 degrees.
In the world?
Right. 50 degrees. Losing their minds. Crazy, boy. Tamara T. Good to see you.
It's true. It's true.
Exactly. Losing their minds with 50 degrees. Boy. Jimmy, Gail. Good to see you, Gail.
Hey, Gail.
Checking in. Good to see you, Gail. Zoe Phillips checking in.
What's up, Zoe? How you doing, Zoe?
What's good, brother? Good to see you. Thanks for checking in.
Thank you.
Good to see you. Good to see you. Chuck Hunt.
Nashville, Tennessee.
Just a little south of there. Just a little south of there. How's the weather, Chuck, in Monroe, Louisiana? You guys stay warm. Try to stay warm. Little baby.
What's up, little baby?
Checking in. Good to see you, little baby. Edwin checking in. Edwin Moore. Good to see you. Thank you for checking in. Thanks for coming.
Edwin been pretty good, in the new year. He ain't instigated yet.
It's early.
It's early.
It's early.
It's only the second show.
Exactly. Alice McCullough, thanks for checking in to 561 in Palm Beach. Checking in. Good to see you. Let me see. Did I say Karen? I got Karen. Yep, Karen. You catching it for them corduroy pants, right? Corduroy pants and tally.
Hey, say what you want to. I'm nice and warm.
Cut the heat on. Shacko, good to see you. Thanks for checking in. EA coming in.
What's up, EA? Nah.
All right, checking in. Good to see you, EA. Mr. Campbell, good to see you, Mr. Campbell.
What's up, Mr. Campbell? How you doing, sir?
All right. Demetra checking in. Hey, Demetra. All right. I think that's everybody.
Hey, Mitra, my basketball buddy. I spoke too soon about Edward Moore. I should have scrolled down first.
Oh. Hey, all right. So more shout outs to come. Had a chance to see be in Tallahassee. So we'll talk about that experience very shortly. What up, JD TV? Thanks for coming in. Good to see you. All right. So Marcus, let's jump right into it, man, because Rattler Nation, we didn't get into it heavy in the last show. Hey Reggie, good to see you. Thanks for checking in. Appreciate you.
What up, JD TV?
We didn't get a chance to talk much recruiting in the last episode, but man, it's been hot and heavy recently. So let me go ahead and open up. If you want to hit that full screen or the
all right,
slide
let me give that a whirl.
Yeah, hit the
slideshow. I may have to reshare. Let's see from beginning.
Just in that top right corner.
Can you see it? Is it showing the slideshow?
No, it's not in slideshow format. Yeah,
you have to do it in this format and then reshare. So let me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, not a problem.
Share.
And let me say, I got to give a shout out to Coach Colsey. Coach Colsey, as he's been giving people the venom. What's it called? Venom acquired or the venom
signal?
The venom signal, right? The venom signal.
Yeah.
Yeah. I gotta say, we appreciate him tagging us because we have look. I think we understand what it's like for a coach now. Because when you send something out, like what he does, and he says venom signal, venom acquired, venom coming, right? Then all of a sudden he tags the O&G, which, Coach, appreciate you. And then all of a sudden, our Twitter, our X handle, we got all kinds of recruits. And I want to give a shout out real quick, Marcus. The young, I got to look it up, maybe in the next segment. But there's a young man who literally replied, and he's holding a snake as he's talking about his about why he should be and why FAMU should recruit him. And I think he was a quarterback.
I think he is. I didn't know his name, but I saw him when you retweeted it. He's a quarterback, I think, class of 2026 in Maryland.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah,
that's
I saw
a
you.
Real one.
Yeah,
I'm like, that young brother.
Yeah, it was a little snake. It was a little snake, but it was still a snake.
Exactly, still a snake. And I'm just like, bro, that's real. There's just some mascots you don't mess around with. I mean, the brother's standing there with a snake talking. I'm like, bro, you got me on that one. That was deep. So yeah, if you follow us on X, you know what I'm talking about because we had to get that young brother a shout out. So
and while we giving Coach a shout out, just a little tease, I think everybody should tune in next week because Coach will be on the show.
Ooh, okay. Little heads up. So make sure you tune in next week. Coach Colsey coming in the building. All right. So Marcus, what do we got? Let's go through some of the verbal commits as of today, as you read it there. So you folks, let's go. What we got, Marcus?
All right. Let me roll through it. If I can get my screen.
Make sure I'm sharing this. And if you guys are on your Instagram and all that other stuff, man, make sure you guys are sharing the show. I know those of you on X and Facebook, and you guys, let the family know. Let some Rattlers know about the show. Okay. All right, go ahead.
All right, I'm trying to get it to progress. It's not.
What do you say? What about let me see. Let me kind of see some comments here.
There we go. Now, some of his old news. I was hitting the arrow button. I should have hit the return button. So some of this might be old news. Like we got a couple early. All of these are verbal commits. I can't confirm who has signed as of yet, but we have about 17 total, which is, considering early signing day was like the first 8 days. That original signing day, and it was like crickets. So I was like, oh boy, what's going on here? But Our first verbal commitments are from early high school players, Mickey Maddox out of Lincoln High School, wide receiver who can bring some speed and a little bit of size. And he made second team All Big Bend, Tallahassee Democrat All Big Bend football team this year, and was voted All Honorable Mention last year. And Lincoln progressed to the regional finals this year in Class 5A after making it to the Class 3A suburban regional semifinals last year. So he should bring some playmaking ability coming to FAMU. And, we do have, I guess, some openings at the wide receiver position. We know that we have a couple folks graduating. So, that should be of interest. We have Samuel Mitchell, who's a linebacker and defensive end, slight, but it looks like he has room to build, to add to some build.
Isaiah Landframe.
Yes.
Coming
and actually a little bit more. I mean, maybe an inch taller, but it looks like he's about 25 pounds heavier.
Yeah.
But he's was voted Miami Herald Class 4A, 3A All Broward team. I have not seen accolades this year, and of course, a lot of them behind the power wall. I'm behind the paintball. I think the Miami Herald, I'm not sure if theirs is out yet. They've been coming out later and later, closer to signing day. But the South Florida Sun Sentinel is out, but I haven't been able to get access to it. But he did make the All Broward team last year, an honorable mention at defensive end and tight end. And this year, his team also made it to the regional finals in Class 7A.
Legacy.
Mm-hmm. And he did mention when he was first offered that he was offered by his dad's alma mater. So it was good to see that we're pulling in some legacy Rattlers in. Next, we get to some of the transfers. In fact, the majority of the ones going forward will be transfers. I'm not sure if there's any more high school commitments we received, but Chase Dexter, and I can go a little bit later in this, but it seems like we did get a lot of DBs. But when I look back at the roster, we had about 8 or 9 DBs that were either classified as seniors or we knew that were departing, graduate exhausted eligibility. So it would make sense to start to build up the defensive backfield. So Chase Dexter, a Florida native coming over from the Air Force Academy, recent graduate, so he has a lot of years of eligibility left, out of Plant City. Damian Thompson, he was a walk-on. Now, I'm not sure. He has since deleted this tweet, so I'm not sure if he's still committed or he was a preferred walk-on from California, and he's a veteran. So he did make a verbal commitment. Probably want to see early in December. Maybe just
it's pretty expensive to come cross country as a walk-on.
Yes, and he's coming from Morehead State, and he's with the LA Valley College, first in Morehead State, and so he would have provided some depth. But we'll see how that turns out. Xavier Perkins, our first defensive lineman. We had long lamented about defensive linemen. He's a transfer. He comes out of Florida State, coming from Berkeley Prep. I think it was a preferred walk-on at FSU. But he did play for a winning program, Berkeley Prep. They made it to the semifinals in 2022. And I think in 2023 is when after he left. Not that it has any bearing on it, but they won a state title. So that speaks to the talent that they had on the team. And it also continues the Tampa connection that we had. So I'm going to update that to make sure, include him as an FSU transfer. Alexander Davis, kicker punter. And I believe we have 3 that we got verbal commitments from, punter and 2 place kickers. So he's from Timber Creek High School in Orlando, class of 2023, transferred over from Mississippi Valley, where he had a pretty good year as a punter. But also, looking back at some of the archives, he actually paid FAMU a visit, came on a visit to one of the games when Coach Simmons was still here. So there's someone that we maintain contact with. It's good to see that some of the folks that are on this list were either re-offers from previous connections or had visited us and are familiar with the program. So that's, once again, hopefully speaks to the level of attraction that we have and planting seeds with different recruits if opportunities present themselves, if they have with the advent and the proliferation of the transfer portal, coaching changes, or whatever the case may be, that they'll take us in consideration. Daryl Jones, DJ Jones, out of, once again, another Tampa native out of Hillsborough High School. Rated as a 3-star as a high school player. Went to the University of Virginia. He's a defensive lineman. So he's class of 2023. So he still has some years to play. Hillsborough didn't have playoffs in his last year in high school, but he brings noted size once again to add to the rotation as we may have some folks going out. We're still, looking to build up on the defensive line. It just questions, at least as far as I know, as relates to the rulings from junior college and everything else, who still has eligibility, who can still play, and who's going to come back with all the volatility in the portal. So it's good to get additional defensive linemen. This caused us stir. Tyler Jefferson out of Hawthorne High School.
Yeah, that's where people started getting excited.
Yeah, and Hawthorne's been a powerhouse in, I want to say, the 1A level.
1A. Yeah, my high schools played them. Yeah, it's tough. Those cats are tough out there.
At least the last 4 or 5 years, and it seems like they play Madison County just about every year. Yeah, just about every year for like at least 3 or 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, 4 out of the last 5 years, I think. Or 4 out of the last 6. Yeah.
So he's coming out of the cold, out of Central Michigan, and coming back. He did play his last year at Columbia Lake City, but he spent the majority of his time at Hawthorne, where he locked horns with Madison County. So he's also rated as a 3-star player. He's a lefty. So he was a honorable mention as a senior in high school at Columbia. And as you can see, they made the playoffs. The majority of his years lost in his junior year to Madison County, and then made it to the state semifinals in Class 3A Suburban in his last year in 2022.
Hey, Marcus, and I just want to point out real quick, this is the first sign. Remember, with our new quarterback coach, he wasn't here during recruiting season last year. Mm-hmm. And this is a change in what appears to be some philosophy in terms of dual threat, because he's a legitimate dual threat.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Dalen Diston, transfer defensive back from Union County High School in Lake Butler, class of 2023. And I'm seeing a theme here that we're getting a lot of players coming back to the state of Florida, but coming back with a lot of years of eligibility. So we're not necessarily going all in on a one and done. Not that there aren't any that they haven't received offers, but we seem to be getting players that have multiple years of eligibility, which hopefully bodes well for us and them. So he's ready.
I remember Coach Cozy mentioning that with us previously that was a theme with last year's transfers.
Yes, and he's continuing that theme this year, and I'm glad, with everything going in the portal and not knowing how things work and all this talk of basically what amounts to pay for play, that we're still getting quality talent and being able to make sure that we can get the talent that we need to challenge for championships. So
another kid, Marcus, by the way, 1A, played against Madison County or Hawthorne. So played against good competition. North Florida, kind of North Florida, all those schools. So, but another good program.
Yes. And also, I lost my thought. Oh, also he, looking back at the archives, I think he paid us a visit too before he settled his final recruitment on Eastern Carolina. But I did see, I think, something on his social media post, maybe in 2021, where he actually had a game visit as well. So once again, reaching back in those connections. Deion Villers, a transfer from Tennessee State, had a breakout year this year. He coming once again out of Lake Gibson High School in Lakeland. And he also participated in the Class 7A state semifinals. So we're getting a lot of Florida kids, a lot of experience, a lot of talent, but also folks who were on teams that made some deep runs in the playoffs against quality competition. Tequan Lattimore out of Cairo. I think I pronounced that right. Cairo, Georgia.
Yep.
class of 2021. And I think we offered him previously. We offered him when he came out of JUCO, out of Georgia Military College, I want to say 2 years ago. And then he ended up going to UNC Charlotte. But now, he's coming back here. And he did, once again, participate in 4A regional semifinals in the second round. And he was an honorable mention All-American at the JUCO level. Now we're going on the run of kickers. I think the next 2 kickers we committed on the same day. I want to say 6 p.m., like 2 or 3 Mondays ago. And I know Coach announced that. Trinity Catholic High School produced Cooper Badix. Hope I pronounced his name correctly. He was a summer transfer from Gainesville High School, so he's class of 2024. So he just finished his freshman year, or will be finishing his freshman year at Edward Waters. He was a 2022 Gainesville Sun Big School All-Area Football first team member before he transferred to Trinity Catholic. And so Trinity Catholic, once again, Class 1A, made it to the Suburban State Finals and lost the finals to Cardinal Mooney in 2023 up at Bragg. So he's used to the stadium. Hopefully he's picked out his spots where he likes to place the kicks down. But also he didn't have a postseason opportunity with Edward Waters this past year. Next, Andrew Abu Akel, coming from Western Michigan University. And actually, I'm seeing quite a few offers and maybe a few commitments from Western Michigan. So I don't know what's going on with that. But he's out of Chaminade, Madonna. So, of course, they were in the championship running. They're winning the title just about every year. Mm-hmm. So you see they won the 2023 and 2022 1A Metro State
But
championship.
they play up, though. I just want to say, this is a championship program. This is like one of the top programs in the state of Florida. So they 1A, but they play 4A, 5A. They play all the big boys, and they usually win. So,
and usually they're not, and it belies whatever the classification they're in, but they're typically at the beginning of the season, and usually near the end of the season, one of the USA Today Super 25 members. So he's coming from the championship program, and he's coming back to the warmth in Tallahassee. So both of these young men committed on the same day. So we're loading up our special teams, at least as regards to place kickers and punters.
And we have a couple of guys already on the team from Chaminade too. So I don't know if that had something to do with it.
Jalik Thomas out of Central High School. This may have been another person that we offered previously. I'll have to check the archives, but he was Georgia High School Football Daily, Class AAA honorable mention for All-State in high school. His team went to the second round in Class AAA as a high schooler, but he's been to Appalachian State and most recently, and he's coming back to us. But I do believe we may have offered him coming out of JUCO. So we're gaining some experience in the backfield. Justice Cross, I think this one was maybe a week ago. And here's a commitment coming from, he's been to Florida Atlantic and Murray State. So he's coming to us from Kentucky from getting tutelage this past year under Coach Smitty Rock. He's a 3-star player coming out of high school. And as you see, he played during the COVID year, and it was Class 8A, 6A All Broward team. There was a 3-star player coming out, and they played in the Tri-County playoffs in the Gold Division and lost in the finals to Miami Columbus in a championship game. And most recently, Jamal Haley. I think this was a commitment yesterday.
Just the other day.
Out of Berrien Springs High School in Michigan. He's a speedster. Went to Western Michigan in the class of 2022. He's rated 3 stars prospect. But also, they made the semifinals, but he won track state titles in the 100, 200, and the 4x4 relay as a high school senior. So he's got some speed on him. And if you go to his bio, and reportedly he's under 4.5 type speed at 5'11", 190, 195. So we're getting someone in the backfield that could take the distance at the drop of a hat.
Yeah, he say he runs a 4.36. We'll see.
Yeah, boy. All
and
right.
he also made the All-State team. And last one, Elijah Alexander, defensive lineman out of Stetson, out of D-Land. So he's moving, or not really moving. It's a lateral move, FCS. But he played for Benedictine High School, Benedictine Military Academy in Savannah, which has typically been really competitive at the 4A level in Georgia, and won a state title, and actually was a teammate of, I cannot pronounce his name, Luke Kroenhoek, the quarterback who just transferred from FSU, was a 4-star signee, I guess as a true freshman. He played with him in 2002, and they won a state title, and he also got all-regional player of the year, defensive player of the year as a high school senior, and the Atlanta Journal-Constitution Class 4A All-State football team on the defensive side.
All right. Good
so
stuff.
I think that's it.
Yeah, I think that's the most recent edition. I haven't seen anybody since.
Yes, this was up to today. I didn't see any today.
Okay.
But just going through and looking, I think we have 17 total, including the high school verbal commits. So right now, it's all verbal commits. So we'll see. Hopefully, everybody comes through and either having already signed and they're showing up for classes, or
I don't think all of them verbal commits, because I know I've seen a couple of pictures with it, a couple of them on cameras in the stadium. In the last day or so.
They would have wouldn't they have usually tweeted out that signed?
You got to remember, school's been closed for the last 2 weeks. The university just opened up Monday, so I'm sure they're expeditiously processing everything.
All right. Okay, a lot of questions. I did make sure to star some of you guys who asked questions in the chat. So what we'll do, I want to make sure that we get ready to take a quick break and then come in with our next segment with our guests. Marcus, good job as always. Appreciate that. Definitely, I know exactly as Larry Sargent said, thanks, Marcus, as always. I know Larry was getting worried. Don't need to worry, Larry. Coach is on it. Coach is on it. We're going to get some talent. Don't be fooled. Everybody, there's a lot of let everybody else have they moment claiming that they got this guy and that guy. Coach is out there shopping and getting some good groceries. So
and let me just add, we've got a lot of guys coming back, even guys that we didn't know, like the defensive line. I think we're only losing one out of all those guys right now. So
yeah,
we're in good position.
We'll I'll make sure we will come back in the top of hour 2. We'll get to some of your questions. So don't fear, you guys who ask questions. I did make sure to star them. But coming up after this next break, we've got a FAMU legend, FAMU Hall of Famer, MEAC Hall of Famer, and a recent inductee into the Black College Football Hall of Fame, none other than one of the original Rack Boys, 1.0, Jacquay Nunnally, coming up right after this break. So go ahead and let your family know, let your friends know. Go ahead and share the show. Tell them Jacquay's coming in. You're watching the O&G StrikeZone right here on the Black College Sports Network. We'll be back in just a moment.
This is Bryan Fulford. AD Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Wrap. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Wrap, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
Looking for the ultimate cultural experience of 2025? The Zora Outdoor Festival of the Arts is where you need to be. From January 31st to February 2nd, Eatonville, Florida will come alive with incredible live performances from the Levert Experience and the Bar Cave. Immerse yourself in interactive art. Shop from over 80 vendors. Take a journey through history with a new virtual tour app. And enjoy family-friendly STEM activities. Plus, Don't miss the unforgettable R&B tribute to the legends, honoring talents such as Whitney Houston, Marvin Gaye, and Luther Vandross. This is more than a festival. It's a celebration of Eatonville's rich cultural heritage. Visit zorafestival.org for tickets.
The human voice has always connected audiences with experiences. Major brands all across America have trusted Kever's voice time and time again. Conversational, powerhouse, intelligent, and sincere. That's the voice you need for your creative marketing process. KEAVERSVOICE.com. Kever's Voice, Kever's Voice, KeversVoice.com. Always on, all the time.
Hey y'all, it's your girl Sonia from She Say Sports. Make sure to check us out every Friday morning at 9 a.m. on Black College Sports Network, YouTube, and Linktree. And please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube page.
All right, welcome back to the O&G Strike Zone. Bryan, Marcus, Kelvin, back on December 18th of last year. The Black College Football Hall of Fame inducted their 16th class. I believe it's the 16th class to go in to their illustrious Hall of Fame. And when there's none other than FAMU legend Jacquay Nunnally into the class of 2025. For those of you who maybe forgot, I don't know how you could, but Jacquay dominated the gridiron for the Rattlers from 1997 to 2000, the golden era, my era of my time on the yard, where he rewrote both FAMU and Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference record books during his spectacular 4-year career. His impact was immediate and sustained as he helped lead FAMU to 4 consecutive FCS playoff appearances while setting numerous records that still stand today. Nunnally's career stats place him among the greatest receivers in NCAA history. His 317 career receptions ranked 6th all-time in NCAA history, while his 4,239 receiving yards place him 10th. He averaged 7.2 receptions and 96.3 yards per game throughout his career, ranking 14th and tied for 15th respectively in NCAA history. I'm on a point of privilege here, say that's now. But when he left, many of those numbers were like at the tippy top. All right. We know how the game has changed. So I'm gonna just put a little asterisk by that beautiful notation there. I'll fast forward to some of the accolades, but in the MEAC record books, Nunnally, his name appears at the top of nearly every receiving category: career receiving yards, career receptions, career touchdowns, single season receptions. Already a member of the MEAC Hall of Fame and the FAMU Sports Hall of Fame. His selection into the Black College Football Hall of Fame adds to a legacy that has inspired a generation of Rattlers. And if I'm not mistaken, I think he is, I had this written down somewhere. I think he is now the 5th Rattler to go into the Hall of Fame, the 2nd wide receiver, FAMU wide receiver, to go into the Black College Football Hall of Fame. And there's only been like 14 overall. So I just want to say that. So let me bring on the show with no further ado, the one and only FAMU legend, Jacquay Nunnally. What's up, Rattler? How you doing, sir?
Not much, man. Hey, gentlemen. Hey, appreciate for having me on tonight. Listen, that was a great introduction. Some of those stats I didn't even know myself. So, I appreciate it, though.
Hey, man, we gotta recognize greatness, and we all watched you tear it up on the field week after week, so it's an honor and it's a pleasure to have you on the show. I want you to talk a little bit about, because you and I talked last year when the first and the award was first, when you were first recognized. I want you to tell the story a little bit about how you you heard about this, because I find it kind of a little humorous, but it kind of speaks to the nature of you and how you're not someone who I think kind of gets wrapped up in all of the accolades and all the stuff that comes. But just talk a little bit about finding out that you were inducted into the Black College Football Hall of Fame.
Yeah, that's a pretty funny story. So, of course, in the social media era of the world that we're in, a friend of mine, he called me, and actually he tagged me on social media, say, that, hey, you're nominated for the Hall of Fame. So I'm thinking, I get tagged in old stuff all the time. So I'm like, this is from before, thinking nothing of it, looked at it, hey, appreciate it, kept it moving. The next day, I get a call from Doug Williams, and Doug Williams is like, hey, I was just reaching out, to call you, to tell you congratulations. But before he can get, the words out of his mouth, they're like, hey, appreciate it, thanks, I seen it on social media. So, when as he continued to speak, he was like, hey, sorry, it took so long to get in, different reasons for whatever. And I'm like, it took so long to get in. So he was like, yeah, you actually made it into the Hall of Fame. So my first statement was, I could have swore I was already in the Hall of Fame. But it turns out I had been up for the nomination a couple of times, and I've never actually made it. So that was it was quite a little surprise. And since then, there has been more outrage over how long it took me to get in, rather than congratulations for me being in. I got numerous texts and messages. Jacquay, you just not getting in? I'm like, I guess so. Why did it take so long? Like, even my son is 7 years old. So he happened to be in a car with me when I was talking to somebody. And so he was like, Dad, what's the Hall of Fame? So I was like, they recognize, some of the best players that ever played. He was like, but you haven't played in a long, long, long time. And he's a character. Yeah, you haven't played. Like, why did it take so long? I'm like, listen, I don't know. But I'm in now. I'm thankful for being in. Whether it was this year, whether it was 10 years ago, 20 years ago, I'm just thankful to be in. Not many people get the chance. So I think I appreciate the acknowledgement.
All right. Go ahead, Kelvin.
Jacquay, I want you to kind of talk about what you're doing right now before we really get into, reliving the past and everything. What you been up to the last couple of years and what you're doing now?
So right now, I do a couple of things outside of the football realm, but I'm actually with football. Right now, I'm the offensive coordinator at Miami Norland High School in South Florida. Last year, 2023, we played for the state championship at Bragg. We didn't come away with the win, but we had a pretty good team, and we had a pretty good team this year. We lost in the third round. So I'm still in the coaching realm. I've learned a lot since my playing days. Another funny story is when I started coaching, I had the opinion that everyone can do what I can do. So when I started calling plays, I called the simple things that I ran at FAMU. And they didn't quite work as well. Let's just put it that way. And I had to learn real quick. And, some of my friends, they tell me nowadays that I still have that problem, that I think some of the things that I did, like even to this day, they're just normal things. And, my friends have to remind me every now and then, like, yeah, Jay, like, those aren't normal. Some of the things that you did, because like even to this day, I still acknowledge that I think there were receivers at FAMU even during my time that were better than me. To this day, I still say the best receiver I ever seen was John Rutledge, Robert Wilson. Those who came before me are, my running mate, Kane Lamb, Demetrius, Cedric Mitchell, during that time, I was just, blessed to be in the right place at the right time. But I don't know, it's a blessing.
All right.
Go ahead, Marcus. You're on mute.
Yeah. thank you for coming on with us. I appreciate you carving out some time for us. I want you to elaborate a little bit more on what you just talked about, because we've always heard sports anecdotes of how great players, when they transition to coaching, sometimes it's a challenge because the expectations and the talent that you exuded on the field, you have an expectation that sometimes some of your understudies may have a challenge rising to meet. So how have you made that transition, especially with impressionable high school students?
Well, I mean, it wasn't easy because, like, even to this day. So I've been coaching I think I started coaching maybe in 07, 08. So I've been coaching quite a while. But even to this day, like, I call a simple play, or say we're in a game and somebody's playing, cover zero man to man, and I'm telling the receiver, listen, there's no way possible that one person can cover you. Like, it's not. Or when they catch a pass and they get tackled by the first person, I'm like that's literally unheard of. Like, I don't think I messed with them. Like, I never got tackled one-on-one in my life. Like, I don't care who was on me, and that's my thinking. And I'm sure somewhere down the line I did get tackled one-on-one, but it was such a rarity that when I see it happen nowadays, it's kind of shocking. And my receivers and things, they laugh at me, they joke, especially like dropping passes, I reference to me and Kanan and some of the other receivers, during the glory days with the Rack boys. We used to try to go through a whole practice with nothing but one-hand catches. Because we had great hands during that time, so we didn't understand dropping a pass. And nowadays it's receivers drop passes left or right, and it's they think nothing of it. But we kind of took pride in that, and it kind of started with Kanan, because Kanan Lamb has probably the best hands I have ever seen in my life, and that's from college to when I played in the NFL a little bit, when I went to Canada a little bit. His hands were unbelievable. But it's kind of hard to put that pressure on younger kids. Because they haven't quite got there yet. But it's a learning experience.
Okay. Well, thank you.
I want to talk. There's a lot of records that we know how the game has changed, right? And so obviously when you left and you finished at around 2000, I think the only person who had more catches than you might have been Jerry Rice. But in terms of you were like right there at the top of many records. And the one record that, even though we've seen the football and game change, where now everybody's offense kind of, I'm not going to say looks like the Gulf Coast offense, but it is that kind of up-tempo passing style of game. The one game that I want you to talk about is October. I think I got the date right. Hold on, I'm sitting here just looking at it. It's the October 11th.
Okay.
1997. Your first game, I believe and correct me if I'm wrong, it's the first game you started against A&T, where you set, which still holds to this day, the single game yardage mark, which I think is 284. And I'm sorry, I'm stumbling over it because I had it and then I flipped away from it for a second from where I was looking. But I believe it's 284. Yep, 284 receiving yards. And I think it was 13 catches. I don't know how many touchdowns. You can tell us. But I want you to tell us about that day and that game.
That's another interesting story. And that kind of leads to, when you tell people always be ready for your opportunity. So coming into that year, that was my redshirt freshman year. My true freshman year, when I came on campus, I was highly touted because everyone thought I was going to go to Florida State. So when I came to FAMU, I got a lot of accolades and everything. So going into my true freshman year, I traveled like the first couple of games, but I never played, and I ended up redshirting, going to the pit. If those who know, that scout team kind of, for those who don't know what the pit team is. So I really didn't do anything. And in the spring of that year, I hurt my ankle really, really bad. Like, I tore my ankle up, and I missed the whole spring of my freshman year, going into my red shirt freshman year, and I still remember to this day. So it was one of those injuries where you really couldn't see it, but I couldn't walk, I couldn't do anything, and the trainer at the time, Mr. Bracketa, I remember her telling the coaches, like, it's nothing wrong with him. Like, there's nothing wrong with him right now. He's just scared, and, she was kind of on me, and the whole time I'm like, yes, I'm not worrying about you. Listen, I'm going to, and I was a little cocky, I was coming out. So, I'm telling her, hey, there's something on my ankle. I can't do anything. I can't run. So, fast forward to coming into my red shirt freshman year. So now the coaches, they have the opinion, only thing in their mind is in the spring, this kid sat out, he didn't do anything, he's not going to do anything. So me and Demetrius Mendros, so we dressed. I was on the depth chart. I think I was the 4th slot receiver on the depth chart. So literally I'm at the bottom of the depth chart. I'm on the bench so far that I have a picture to this day of me and Demetrius Mendros. We're standing on the sideline squirting each other with the water bottles just to make it look like we were sweating, and we got in the game. And we laughed, we laughed, we joked. So like I didn't touch the field, period, my first game. Second game, more of the same. But somewhere within the game, I believe Marvin Teller, another great receiver here in front of me, he got hurt. And then we had Andre Williams. It was a guy who had just transferred in from Clemson. Mm-hmm. He ended up getting hurt also the same game. And so now, Coach Jimmy was like, okay, well, who knows this position? And one thing I was always good with, I knew the playbook. I knew the playbook from every position. Coach Jimmy, like, you know what? Reluctantly, Jacquay, go out there. And I had been working. The quarterback on team of Samson, he was from my high school. So, I was throwing with him on the side on different days. So when I got out there, I think I finished that game with maybe 70, 80 yards receiver and like a half. So coming into the next week, Marvin Teller and Andre still can't play. And that would lead us into that game. So, I started that game because I had another good game, and I just had a great day. I had a great game. And after that game, it was kind of it was no looking back. Them guys, they got healthy the next week. And Coach Billy and Coach Jim was like, I understand you're healthy, but we're going to let Jacquay stay there. You guys go to these other positions on the field. And then from that moment, it's in the books. And that's one reason why, I kept 85. So, back in the day, everyone, I'm switching to a single digit, but I couldn't get a single digit. I couldn't even get a team number because that's how, less than I was in the eyes of, some of the trainers and, I'm not going to say the coaches because I don't know per se, but I know the trainers, and so, when I did my thing in 85, after I had a few good games, they came to me, hey, you want to switch numbers? I'm like, no, listen, I'd have made 85 now. So I'm going to rock with 85 and, until the wheels fall off. So, and that's another story. And that's what my son always laughs at me also. He's like, you couldn't have been good. You had on them 85. Like, yeah, I made 85.
That's so funny. Yeah, man. Go ahead, Kelvin.
Jacquay, talk about your high school, what positions you played, because I know you weren't necessarily a quote-unquote wide receiver, just a wide receiver. So talk about what you played and what you did in high school leading up to coming to FAM, and you might as well go ahead and share how you got to FAM while you're doing that.
So I'm sure most Rattler fans know about how I got to FAM, but I'll get into it. So in high school, I pretty much played everything. I played quarterback some, but it was back in the days where, everyone stood in the pocket and threw. And, I'm 5'10", 11, whatever. That really wasn't offense. Now, if I came up nowadays, maybe I might have made it at the quarterback. But I was a quarterback, most of my junior year. Then the coach realized, listen, this kid can't throw. So, and we had a receiver who could throw. And so Coach Perkins just switched our places. So I went to receiver, he went to quarterback. And actually my first game starting at receiver, I had, I think, 200 yards receiving in high school. So, I made the change, went to receiver. But then I was also playing a little bit of running back, so then going into my senior year, the coach came to me, we didn't have a whole lot of talent on the team. We had some players, but the coach asked me, hey, do you want to go play defense? I'm like, no, I don't mind. So he put me on defense. He put me at linebacker. I would never tell anybody to play linebacker. That is a whole different I don't care how good of an athlete you are. I don't care how tough you are. To look at a big lineman coming at you, then I have to go through him and make a tackle. Yeah, that's not going to work. So he backed me up to safety. So I was playing both ways. I was still playing a little bit of quarterback. I was a full-time receiver, and I was also a full-time safety. So I ended up going all county, all state. But most of the people who recruited me actually as a safety. So Florida State actually recruited me as a safety, not even a receiver. So I assumed, going into college, I was going to play safety. When I got to FAM, I was like, they asked me which side of the ball I wanted to play on. Like, I didn't care. So they put me at receiver, and that's kind of how I ended up at receiver. Now, how I got to FAMU, which has been written about numerous times, I was the biggest Florida State fan. I wanted to be Charlie Ward. I wore number 17 when I played quarterback. Like, I'm Charlie Ward. You can't tell me I'm not Charlie Ward. That's where I am. So coming up into my senior year, Florida State actually did recruit me. It was Chuck Amato who was recruiting me. So when I came up on my recruiting visit, and I mean, they were very honest with me. They were like, hey, listen, we like you, we love you. But I guess at the time it was another player that was rated a little bit higher than me. And they're like, listen, we're waiting on this guy. And so, I kind of took it as like, a slap in the face because, you're young, you don't understand, the politics of the game. I understand a lot more now, but at the time I didn't. So, and people from FAMU had already been talking to me. My uncle, Darryl Pitts, he played on the 78 team that, beat UM, won the championship. So, his teammates, he and some of his other friends, they always go to FAM, go to FAM, go to FAM, go to FAM, go to FAM. And when Florida State kind of shunned me, I was like, I'm going to go across the street. I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you what you're missing. And that kind of was like, the bird on my shoulder most of my early career. Like, I'm going to show you. And it kind of came to a head where, where I got to kind of smiled and chuckled a little bit. My senior year, Coach Bowden, he was the coach of the Hula Bowl. And he selected me to be one of the receivers in the Hula Bowl. And when I met him in Hawaii, he came up to me and he let me know. He was like, yeah, we made a mistake not taking you, so many years ago. So, but that's how I ended up at FAM. It was probably one of the best decisions I ever made. I had a great recruiter, Coach Walter Highsmith. I believe that year he got maybe 7 people off the all-state team to go to FAMU. I still to this day say he's probably the greatest recruiter that has ever graced recruiting because he knew exactly what to tell you to come to FAMU. Whether he's telling you,
I know the stories.
Yeah, just one quick funny story, y'all. So we're on a recruiting trip, and so we don't know about, we're riding up the hills and everything, and we don't know why the smoke comes from up underground, out of the vents or whatever. It's the winter. Yeah. So you see the smoke coming up on the grounds, and one of the players asked, Coach Highsmith, what is that? He, Coach Tyler, he used to talk with his fingers a lot. And he was like, yeah, that's the 24-hour cafeteria that we have for the football players. Anytime you get hungry. So man, yeah. So but it was fun, man. With this man, me and some of my other teammates, we joke about Coach Highsmith to this day. If it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't be at FAM. But he knew the right thing. He might even put it in my head. Listen, man, go show them what you're gonna do. So I think it was me thinking of it, but when I'm thinking about it now, it probably was Coach Highsmith that put in there. Yeah, they don't want you. Yeah, let's go show them. You know how close FAMU is to Florida State, right? You can show them every week. So so that's kind of how I ended up at FAM.
Good stuff.
Oh man, go ahead, Marcus.
I have a question for you in terms of your position now, and with all the transitions that you've seen, even within the state of Florida, as it relates to high schools and athletes being able to move around different schools, and then now you have that and more going on in college. What is your advice to some of your juniors and seniors who are looking to follow your path as it relates to playing major college football?
Well, man, I'm so glad I'm not coming up in this era. I talk to different coaches all the time. Like even, I talked to Coach Cozy today. I'm in Tallahassee actually right now for something else, non-football related. But I tell coaches all the time, if I came up during this time, I probably wouldn't have went to FAMU. Probably wouldn't have took me because that's just that's the nature of the game right now. I tell the kids, listen, get in any way you can. Whether it's academics, track, tennis, baseball, basketball, preferred walk on, or any way you can get to the college, get to the college, because these colleges nowadays they aren't going to the high schools to get their players. Unless you're 6'3", running a 4.140, ready to play right now, they don't want the developmental player. They really don't. And I understand it. I don't blame them because it's a business now. That's their job. Going on the days where a coach is at a school with 20 years and I have time to develop this kid, to help me win. That's not the case now. Now you have maybe 2-3 years, and if you're not winning, you're fired. So it makes no sense for me to bring in a high school kid that's going to be ready to play in 2-3 years when I'm going to be fired. So I'm just getting them developed for the next coach. When I could go to this, I could go to the other the college ranks and get somebody who's already developed and ready to play. So it's terrible for high school students, but I do understand it. I wish there were some kind of restrictions or regulations on it, because I want the college kids to have that freedom, but it needs to be some type of regulations, even with NILs.
Yeah.
Like, when you got players telling coaches, hey, listen, I'm going to transfer unless you give me, this X amount of money, or the kid, and I don't even know how true this was. It was reported by ESPN, the kid from Florida, the linebacker, who he wanted written in his NIL that, hey, if I come here, I'm going to play on third downs, I'm going to start, all this different things to, the coach at Marshall. He left Marshall going somewhere else, and half the roster jumped in the portal just to follow him to his school.
Yep.
Like that's crazy. I think the kids need to get paid. I do think they need to do that, but there needs to be some type of regulations on it. Like it can't just be a free fall. Like, I was listening to an interview by Deion Sanders the other day, and he was talking about the 2 Colorado State players where schools were offering them $600,000 to get in the portal. So they weren't in the portal. Schools are calling them. And it's funny thing is, because I have some ex-players, they called me and asked me about it. Hey, this school just called me, I don't want to transfer right now, but they just offered me so-and-so amount of dollars that if I go into the portal. Like, it's pretty much, it's high-price free agency right now.
Yeah.
Like, it's not transferring. It's free agency. And these kids are getting paid more than some of the NFL players. Yeah. Like, I look at Travis Hunter and Shadir Sanders, and then even Ewers from Texas. Like, there people are offering him $10 million just to come here to school for 1 year. He's not making that in his rookie year in the NFL. So it needs to be some type of, I don't know, regulations or something.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Let me, if you got it, I got a couple of questions from out of the chat. So I want to run those by you. And this first one I had me thinking, but JT asked if you could refresh us on the first time the Rat Boy dawned, or just the advent of that name. When did you hear it? Maybe you and the other guys, and you kind of, and then maybe if you could, Jacquay, talk a little bit about the quarterbacks, because I think as much as I have said this publicly, and I'll say it again, when the FAMU Sports Hall of Fame decides to start putting teams, I think you and the original, I hate saying the original, but we know. But anyway, the Rat Boys, as we know them, 1.0, that group, you and the guys who make, that is a team that belongs in the Hall of Fame. So that's just my personal opinion. But I want you to, if you would, in answering JT's question, kind of talk a little bit about the birth of that, where you heard it from, and then maybe speak on those guys who were throwing the ball to you guys.
So God bless the dead, but God bless the dead. Mike Moran, he passed a few years back. So coming out of my my red shirt freshman year, going into my sophomore year, Michael Moran, he was from Georgia, was a quarterback. So he had all he had the accolades and everything. And coming in, he was a media guy. He was a media guy, loved to talk to the media, and so I believe one of the media outlets, I believe the Democrat, they did an interview of him or something, and talking about me and Cedric and some of the other guys coming back, and Tariq Raheem coming back, and he was he put in an article, it's Mike Moran and the Top Gun Trio, and I was like, that is such a dumb name. And, when we had our media day, and they were referencing us as the Top Gun Trio, and I'm like, no, like we're not doing that, no. And that I had to break out freshman year, and so we were joking around, and the guy was like, so like, what are you guys going to go by? I'm like, listen, I mean, just call us the Rat Boys, and it was just a comment offhand or whatever, and it just so happened that year we had so many plays of running after the catch that it just stuck, and it lingered, and it carried on, and to now, it's common knowledge. I have kids all the time asking about the Rat Boys, especially because FAMU, every time they get a good receiver corps, they're Rat Boys 2.0, Rat Boys 1.6, Rat Boys 1.8, and things of that nature. And I get the outrage. How can those guys can't compare to you and Kanan and you guys? So I'm like, listen, let the kids have fun. They can be Rat Boys 1.0 for all I care. I don't get anything out of that. So that's kind of where Rat Boys came from. Just us being cocky, and I just thought it was a stupid name to call us the Top Gun Trio.
Top Gun Trio. I'm glad that didn't stick.
That was all.
I think I just remember the first time. I remember the first time I heard it was Keith Miles on one of the broadcasts. So I remember that's kind of where the first I heard of it. And let me see, another question here. Jimmy Mack asking, have you ever wanted to or ever given thoughts about coaching wide receivers at FAMU?
I really haven't. Maybe a few years ago, I think it was some kind of changeover, and I had some people reach out to me, but it was never really nobody official from the coaching staff. I think it was more of alumni base, asking me, would I come in? And at the time, I had just had my son, and I was like, I'm not finna. I don't want to get into the college coaching lifestyle with a newborn, because you're there one year, you're gone the next. So I never really gave it thought. But then again, I don't really think anyone has really gave me serious thought about coaching a position.
Okay. All right. Just to kind of let people know again, the class that you are going into the hall with consists of Henry Dyer from Grambling State, Coach Fred Poplong of Wiley College, Rasheem Mathis from Bethune, Dominic Rogers-Cromartie, Tennessee State, and the quarterback Jay Skywalker. I don't think you didn't have to match up against Rasheem or Rogers-Cromartie, did you?
No. So Rasheem, his freshman year, that's it.
Okay.
Yeah, he wasn't ready yet. That was his true freshman year. I believe I was a junior or a senior. I believe I was a senior. my senior year, I think they tried to shine. Coach Wyatt tried to put him on me. He wasn't ready at that time, but he did go on to have a great career afterwards.
Yes, he did. So that's an outstanding class. The class will be recognized publicly for the first time at the All-State HBCU Legacy Bowl, Yeoman Stadium in New Orleans on February 22nd, 2025. So want to encourage those of you in the area, if you can make it out there. I feel like that's either the week after the Super Bowl or maybe
that's a couple weeks.
A couple weeks after the Super Bowl. Okay. And then also, in case you're interested in attending the 16th annual Black College Football Hall of Fame induction ceremony presented by the Atlanta Falcons will be held June 7th, 2025 in Atlanta, Florida. I know we're going these guys are Falcons fans, Jacquay, not me, not so much. But anyway, we will plan on being in the house for this. So I want to give you the final word again. Thank you for taking time to come on the show and help relive some of those great years. But more importantly, we just want to salute you and congratulate you. So I want to give you the last word and give you the final thought here tonight.
All I can say is I appreciate it. I appreciate the acknowledgement, and I think I thank all the fans that have given me love the last couple of weeks, and congratulations. Without the fans, none of this would be possible. So I really do thank them, and I guess the last thing is strike again.
Amen. And hopefully this interview, like my man Sweet said, you're gonna have guys going back watching old YouTube videos of what y'all did back in the day.
Yeah. And listen, they're out there on YouTube, and they look just real bad. Look real bad. Yeah. We didn't dress how the guys dress nowadays, and my son always says, "Daddy, why were your shoulder pads so big?" Like, dude, everyone wore big shoulder pads. So hey, go check it out. It's on there. FAMU 97, 98, 99. 2000, 2001, I was there.
Good stuff. Well, hey, again, Jacquay, man, thank you for taking time out tonight. Yeah. Congratulations again. And please, hey, anytime you want to come on, anytime you want to promote something or tell us about something, man, you got my number. Let me know. We'll bring you on the show. And so hopefully we get a chance to talk before we see you either in New Orleans or in Atlanta, okay?
All right, no problem. Thank you, sir.
All right.
Thank you. Have a great night.
All right.
All right, you too.
All right. Good stuff there. Again, Jacquay Nunnally, one of the legends, one of the GOATs. Man, just unbelievable. And I tell you, still to this day, that single season record stands. And again, all of the other with the passing game the way it is, 284 still stands to this day as one of the single game records in college football to this day. Outstanding game. All right, let's take a break. Come back, maybe catch up a little bit on some questions from the football recruiting segment. Give some love to our basketball programs and just more importantly, the athletic department for putting together a great showcase for the first SWAC season. I'll talk about first SWAC home game of the season. So we'll talk about that coming up right here on the other side of this commercial break. You're watching the O&G StrikeZone right here on the Black College Sports Network. We'll be back in just a moment.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavill of Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
It's like a loop machine. All around town, trying to get down. It's like a loop machine.
You're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics. There's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
Looking for the ultimate cultural experience of 2025? The Zora Outdoor Festival of the Arts is where you need to be. From January 31st to February 2nd, Eatonville, Florida will come alive with incredible live performances from the Levert Experience and the Bar Cave. Immerse yourself in interactive art. Shop from over 80 vendors. Take a journey through history with a new virtual tour app. And enjoy family-friendly STEM activities. Plus, don't miss the unforgettable R&B tribute to the legends, honoring talents such as Whitney Houston, Marvin Gaye, and Luther Vandross. This is more than a festival. It's a celebration of Eatonville's rich cultural heritage. Visit zorafestival.org for tickets.
Welcome back to the O&G StrikeZone. Bryan, Kelvin, Marcus, glad to be back with you. Thank you for everybody coming in, tuning in, and sharing the show. Appreciate Jacquay Nunnally for coming in and joining us in that last interview. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Appreciate you guys interacting online. So, fellas, real quick, do you want to catch up on a few of the questions from the segment we did regarding football? Come back to it later, or go into basketball? What are you guys up for here?
Let's button it up. Let's go with the question.
All right, let me go back into the chat and find some of the questions that we got. Let me see. Okay. Jimmy Mack said we have some very good talent that want to come to FAMU, and they're looking for NIL, highly recruited talent. Okay, maybe I meant to save that for our next segment. Overall, JT asks, overall, what grade do you give recruiting so far?
Right now, it's incomplete because, and I only say that because, not because of what the coaches have done, but because, I mean, I was reading an article today, and I think I sent it to you guys. There's like, 4,000 kids in the portal.
Yeah.
The grad students, any grad students, the portal doesn't matter. You could be a grad student and transfer anytime, just about. But you have 4,000 kids in the portal. The window just closed. You have the ruling on JUCOs that make it anybody who would have exhausted their eligibility now has an extra year. But I don't know how prolific that's going to be if they start going back a few years. So even when the second window opens after spring practice, it's almost like a balance between supply and demand. There's a lot of supply. There is a demand, but you'll have some options there to pick and choose. So I don't think all the needs have been fulfilled. Like I was saying earlier, I think when I look at the roster maybe a week ago, I counted 8 or 9 defensive backs who may have been seniors or been exhausting their eligibility. So we have a dearth there as it relates to at least replenishing the numbers. We have some needs. Looks like one of them got met yesterday with having a speed running back. There's a lot of offers to offensive linemen, so they're looking to build up depth. We had at least 1, maybe 2 jump in the portal from FAMU during this most recent time. And actually, during the commercial break, I saw we gave an offer to another transfer O-lineman out of Florida International. So I don't know if Coach Simmons is hooking us up or not. But and I only say incomplete because we haven't seen the full class yet. So far, I think they've addressed some needs in terms of a speed back, few defensive linemen. I mean, no big super anchor, but they look more body type wise. And I can't speak to the talent, but look more body wise like a James Ash. I haven't seen like a big anchor like a I can't think of the young man's name from Tampa who plays for the Bucks. Vita Vi, who's like an anchor for the run. I haven't seen any. We've made offers, but I don't know if we've secured anybody like that to be a stout run stopper. But it looks like we've got some athletic defensive ends, and perhaps they can move down in the middle and play some of the inside techniques. Haven't seen a whole lot of linebackers, maybe one or two. We've got one secure, but I don't know if we have another one that's ready to plug and play. So there's still some needs there in terms of filling in positions, maybe upgrading some positions if it's possible. But there's so many players out there. I don't know how the coaches have time to look at everybody between 3,000-4,000 people in the portal. The JUCOs now get an extra year plus high school.
Write that question down. Write that question down. We got to make sure we ask Coach Cozy that next week. How do coaches manage to find time? I'd love to know that. That's a great question for next week.
And so I'm not being facetious as it relates to answering that question, but it looks like we did address some needs because we've hit defensive linemen, but look more like at the ends, like the ends and the defensive back and running back. So I think we hit some needs that would either address deficiencies or shore up depth. But the class is not finished, this recruiting class, and it might not be finished till after spring practice or after spring, at the end of the spring semester, because there's so many players to go through and evaluate not only their talent but the fit with the school.
So I'm gonna say, go ahead. Finish
and then on top of that, you have FAMU's admittance criteria. So we don't know what kind of variable that plays into it. So you got a lot of things in terms of who actually shows up, who's admitted, and who's going to be on the roster at the beginning of the fall.
Yeah, and I was just going to add that I'm going to give it a solid B, and I'm giving it a solid B because, as Marcus has pointed out, we've addressed some of the glaring areas that we were looking to address. We got 2 running backs coming back next year. We just lost Dean. And what everybody said was we needed a speed back. Well, it looked like we've addressed the need of the speed back. We knew we were going to need a quarterback. We got a new. We think we got a new OC/quarterback coach who is looking for more dual threat. So we've got a dual threat quarterback in the midst. Then on the defensive side, outside of James Ash, I think everybody's coming back. So the two guys we added, one of the weaker areas of the defense last year was consistent pass rush. Mm-hmm. So we've added a couple of pass rushes with the size that has been successful for us. We got one high school kid who's 6'5", and then that we probably is going to have to develop. And then we got a couple of guys transfers that are 6'4", 280 coming from Stetson and the other kids. So we kind of addressed the front end and add in depth. We addressed linebacker. We got a lot of guys coming. I think most of those guys coming back too, but because and the other thing I would say, and we talked about all the DBs and a couple of receivers. But the other thing you have to remember, there's some transition, and maybe we'll get some of this announcement on next week's show. But there's some transition in terms of offensive staff, maybe some repositioning of defensive responsibilities and special teams. So you might not want to fill all of your, positions until you get everybody on board and everybody's on the same page. So looking at everything we got coming back and what we've offered and what's committed thus far, I give it a solid B.
I don't know if you saw Bull's question about why so many DBs. You kind of brought it up, both of you. Marcus, I'm just wondering what are we looking like in terms of departing DBs? Obviously, we know guys like Kendall Bowler and a few other guys are gone. What have you done that math and that number crunching yet? How many open DB spots do we have?
Well, I mean, just based on the roster last year, and I can pull it up real quick, that we had at least 8 or 9 guys registered as redshirt seniors or grads. So just assuming they exhausted their eligibility, we had about 8 or 9 DBs that potentially be gone. We have Amari Lee, have his name slips in mind right now. Number 11, Deco Wilson.
Deco. Okay.
We have Kendall Bowler. I mean, that's 3 right there. Then you have let me pull up the roster. And I don't want to prolong the point, but there are about 8 or 9 players that look like they may have exhausted their eligibility. Now you do have some coming back. Like you do have Justin Bostic, who got some playing time against Alabama A&M. So hopefully that bodes well for his positioning himself to make a significant contribution going forward. But then you also have, I think there's at least one transfer DB who came in last year who opted for the portal. And the young man who came from Syracuse, Braylon, can't think of his last name. But I mean, you have all that transition, so you got to prepare for that. And then also you need to build up some depth on special teams as well. So I have not crunched all the numbers, but DB is going to be hit hard. Was going to hit hard, and kind of like how defensive line was hit hard last year by a lot of attrition due to graduation, where we lost about 5 or 6 players who were key contributors and or starters, not even including those who may have transferred out, including General Hunt.
Right.
And that's the one thing I'll bring up real quick, probably next week with Coach. Thus far, it appears that in terms of starting players, we had about 5 or 6 that jumped in the portal. So far, we really hadn't had, I think, 1 offensive lineman maybe. But, and of course, the kicker and the punter, who we knew were gone during the season. But outside of that, we really hadn't had guys to jump in the portal. And I'm just wondering how much of that has to do with the kids and who jumped in the portal last year and that history of it.
The grass ain't always greener. Basically that kind of thing, right? Guys who would have been, look, say what you want, guys who were all SWAC level that probably would have been all SWAC a second year that chose to leave. Hey, I mean, congratulations for chasing the bag or whatever, but let me ask this, transit. I highlighted another question, but I don't know if I want to flash it. Are we mentioning anything regarding coaching changes, staff, or are we going to wait till next week?
We're going to wait till next week and see if the paperwork we go through.
All right, so I won't mention that question, Edwin. I will hold that question. The question that you have. Sweet had a question. Is Coach focusing on transfers who have played in games this time? I know last year he was looking for players without a lot of miles on them. What are you seeing in that, Kelvin and Marcus?
I'm seeing a combination of both. Like Deion Villers, I mean, he played for Tennessee State and Eddie George this year. And then on the flip side, Dalen Diston transferred from Eastern Carolina, both of them being defensive backs. He didn't have much playing time with Eastern Carolina. So it's a combination of talent, potential, and some who have some in-game experience. But it looks like, and I'm trying to just look at the real quick, and I just closed that slideshow. Let me go back a look. I don't have a tally of of the number of games played per se, but we do have a couple of players, especially once again on the defensive side of the ball, that have junior college experience. So they have some playing time. They're not like fresh out of high school and sitting idle, just collecting splinters. So we do have a mix of folks who have potential and talent and haven't necessarily had Division I or whatever division they're coming from, collegiate playing experience. But then there's at least 3 or 4, mostly on the defensive side. And if you include the specialists between Alexander Davis and at least one of the 2 kickers, Cooper Badix, both played a little bit at their previous schools. And Justice Cross is coming in with a lot of experience, coming in from Murray State, and then having actually originally signed with Florida Atlantic coming out of the COVID year, and transferred from Florida Atlantic to Murray State, and now committing to us.
don't forget, we also have a lot of guys. We've been recruiting well over the last 4 or 5 years. So there's some guys that we recruited, some who were coming off injuries, some who just, getting acclimated to the system. So we have guys we haven't seen on the field yet also. And let me just say that in terms of how we're recruiting, what we're doing now, one clear thing that coach is doing, you don't see many guys who only got a year left. So it's kind of obvious he's made the adjustment that he's looking for kids who have multiple years that you can kind of get more for. And if they need a little time to develop, they got at least a developmental year available.
Marcus, what was the young man's name again? Transferred from Tennessee State again.
Deion Villiers. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but Deion Villiers.
Okay. Yes. So yeah, we're excited about. I think anytime you get somebody who has experience,
starter,
playoff
experience.
Right. For me, it was one of the reasons I was so excited and optimistic about Daniel Richardson, while other people were like, "Oh, so and so." Like, no, you don't bring in a guy that kind of experience and put him on the bench. I'm sorry, no, especially not when. Anyway, yeah.
Now, one other thing to add to that.
Yeah.
One of these days we might get some time to look at my little spreadsheet and kind of nerd out on the recruiting stats. But looking at the transfer offers. Out of, I don't know the total number, but we've offered, 29 of the transfer offers that we have are from the state of Florida. And the next highest is 8 coming from hometown or home state or high school ball in Georgia. And everything else is low single digits. Texas, South Carolina, Ohio, North Carolina, California, things like that. So the majority of the transfers, I guess that would probably look at 85% of them. Maybe 80% are coming from our Florida natives.
Right. Okay.
And number of offers, we have a pretty, almost like a Pareto chart, if you will, of almost like a bell curve in terms of where they're coming from, in terms of ACC, American Athletic, a lot of G5 offers and a few at the FCS level.
Good stuff. I love the fact that Zach co-signed that Deion Villiers coming in. Of course, Zach McKinnell.
What was up, Blue?
Blue Bloods. He followed. No one follows FCS better than Zach, and so he sees it all. He sees them all. So I love the fact that he thought he was a potential All-American at Tennessee State, and he's coming home, coming to FAMU. Love it.
Now to answer, I was going to answer that question. Well, you know what? If you're part of the snake pit, it's all in there. If you're not part of the snake pit, tune into the show.
Yeah, look, we're working on the website. Be patient with us. We're working on it. Once we can get the website up, then we'll have a place where we can put all this great info that Marcus is putting together. Last question, and then we're gonna get to our guests, Colonel Eli and Ashley. Did we get, and this comes from McKinley, did we get an edge rusher in the portal?
We got a couple.
Got a couple. Okay, we feel good about
young man Xavier Perkins from Florida State. We got the young man. I don't know if he's going to play in the high school. Samuel Mitchell, the fourth, the one that announced yesterday, Elijah Alexander. I don't know if he's going to play inside or out. But he's like 6'3", 6'4", 280, so he might have versatility there. And I believe we have at least one more. Let me check my list. So that's at least 3. Oh, Daryl Jones, transfer from University of Virginia. So we at least have 4 defensive linemen, 1 high school, and 3 transfers off the top of my head that we have, in addition to whoever's coming back.
Yep.
And we actually got a couple last year, like I believe Stantavius Smith came from UAB, but we actually offered him out of high school. And I want to say he's from either Thomas County Central. He's one from the South Georgia schools or somewhere Albany or below. So he's a redshirt freshman, or at least coming in. He has to have at least 2 years. And so we had some other folks who transferred in who, and if they stay, are coming back for year number 2 under the system. So we have some good talent that's developed and just looking to add more to it.
All right. Let me bring in our next guest. Coming in, representing not only FAMU's first NIL collective, the FANG Exchange. That's fangexchange.com. None other than Ashley C. and Colonel Eli. What you two doing tonight? What up, Rattlers?
Good evening. Good to see y'all.
Hey, what's going on, fellas?
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you all.
Yeah. Well, hold on. Let me find a camera angle that I really like. Okay, there we go. I like that one. Okay, well, fangexchange.com. Hold on, let me see. I always love my graphics. You know, when I got my graphics, I didn't get rid of it. You know, I like to tell people how to make sure they can find Fang Exchange. But while I'm doing that, Ashley, go ahead and let people know where they can find Fang Exchange. What is Fang Exchange for anybody who might be watching for the first time? And you're like, what is this Fang Exchange y'all talking about?
Well, good evening, everyone. For those who are not aware, maybe watching for the first time, Fang Exchange is Florida A&M's NIL collective. We have been functioning since mid last year, and we've come together with the intentions of supporting Florida A&M athletes. So football, basketball, softball, all the sports, you name it, we look to support athletes under these sports and work closely with the coaches. But the ultimate goal is to bring in NIL opportunities to our athletes, whether it be through memberships, whether it be through giving, tax deductible, whether you like it to be tax deductible or not, or whether it just means that you jump in on a campaign that you might see. But the ultimate goal is to bring the dollars in and bring business deals in as well, because we know NIL is twofold. You have a collective where a lot of times the model is to kind of lean into your alumni base and your contacts and those who are excited about your athletic programs. But there's also an opportunity for businesses within your alumni base or businesses outside of the alumni base to partner with our athletes and take an opportunity to market the businesses and work with our athletes. So we do both of those things. It just depends on what better suits you. So I think I broke it down. I don't know if I broke it down good enough for everyone, but the biggest goal is that we're an organization. We're not a DSO, but we are connected with the Florida A&M Athletic Department, where we make sure that we take care of our student athletes.
Nice. Before I throw it over to you, Colonel Patrick, Colonel Eli, Ashley, what's it been like working with the new athletic administration, AD Suggs? What's it been like?
It's been pretty good. One thing that I will say is that we have a liaison of sorts, someone who is meant to strictly deal with NIL, and that's her role. So we talk to her quite a bit when we need to. Matter of fact, she emailed me today about some things that we intend to help with. So we're closely related. We do have a relationship with our AD, of course, and we talk to her when we need to. It's really just a relationship where you basically do the checks and balances, because NIL has a lot of regulations and rules, and we're here to help and be an extension in a positive way. We don't want to cause any issues, so the communication has to be open and flowing between the both of us, so we're on the same page. That's why we were able to get our advertisement in the football game last football season. That's why we're able to confidently come and speak to you, because working with this administration, they're giving us the ability to, and trusting us really, to make sure that we take care of athletes.
Nice. And Colonel Eli, good to see you again. Welcome back.
Hey, Happy New Year. Happy New Year again, fellas.
Exactly. The Patrick Youth Development Foundation. For those who don't know, tell us a little bit about that and catch us up and how your new year is going so far.
Yeah, I am the founder and the president of the Patrick Youth Development Foundation. And this past year, since April, basically have had several of the football players on NIL contract, basically to take care of the guys, just like the PWIs, Power 5, just put some change in their pocket. You've had some of the guys on the show that have told y'all, how those NIL deals have helped them out. But basically, that is what PYDF has done for the athletes. Also, from the donations that everyone has given the athletes, I took a portion of that because I'm a nonprofit and gave it to two of the football players at I forgot the name of the park down there, but it's South south part of Tallahassee, but we sponsored 2 of the football players on the youth football team. And also we gave the girls softball team some fitness equipment because they needed some things, pretty quick, budget, when the coach first got there, she really didn't have a budget, and she let us know that she needed some things. So from the donations to NIL, I used some of that money to give softball some equipment. But I'm here tonight helping Ashley out. I am the nonprofit liaison for the FAMU Exchange. So, once you start making that big money like you guys, we want to make sure y'all can take advantage of that tax break when y'all donate.
There you go.
That is the service that I am providing the FAMU Exchange. I'm that nonprofit liaison for Ashley. And we do still have 4 football players on the NIL contract now.
Yep. We still have athletes that are under contract, some that are holdovers, and that's why this is important. I know you probably have questions, but it's important. We're not here to do exactly what the PWIs are doing, right? We've already talked about it, and we see it often in $1 million contracts and multi-year contracts and deals. That's not our space, and our athletes know and understand that. They are just happy to receive something to show that we are interested in NIL as a university, the athletic department, that we care about it and we care about what they care about, and basically servicing them in that manner. So that's why it's important, because there are athletes who are on our team that potentially have opportunities to go into the portal and talk to other schools, and there are some that we would like to keep. And we don't want to have to go out and re-recruit a room if we don't need to. And this NIL helps do that. I hear a lot about HBCUs and FCS level programs, but NIL is equally important for us. And if we're really being honest, the FBS level is getting ready to be able to do revenue sharing that has not trickled down to us, and it may be difficult for us to do it from a resource standpoint. So it makes NIL even more important, because if we don't have NIL, if we aren't giving a few dollars here and there monthly for these athletes, then we're potentially running the risk of being I don't want to say poached, but getting poached from our team to go to one of those levels, G5 or upper level FCS. So we just want to stay in competition. We want to be able to win, and winning, you have to have quality athletes to do that. And one more thing, I've talked to the coaches, and they have said that that's one of the top questions is, do we have it? Like, not so much about a dollar figure, but hey, do you have NIL? Are you interested in NIL? And that's kind of how they're gauging. It's just like an employment type deal when you want to know what the person you're going to be in partnership with will do.
Good stuff. Okay, so what's the latest, Ashley? While we got you in here, man, I feel like every time we get you on the show, something is changing in the landscape of NIL and college athletics. Man, it's always changing. What's the latest?
So the latest, as it pertains to the landscape, we're seeing a lot of lawsuits. We aren't, thankfully, but the landscape is. So it just makes us at FAMU Exchange button things up and makes things tighter and make sure that we aren't running into issues best of our ability as it pertains. Some things are inevitable, but we're trying to do the best that we can with the resource that we have. Now, as it pertains to FAMU Exchange specifically, it's a new year, so we had an opportunity to kind of evaluate where we were. What we did last year, which we did accomplish a good amount of things in the period in a half of a year, that we were in existence. But we're also now at a point where we want to take it to the next level. Just like any type of business, any type of organization, you don't stay the same. You don't keep doing the same type of things. You look at what you did well, and you continue that, or you increase it. You look at what you did not do well, and you kind of take it away and make some replacements, and you just overall take it to the next level. So what we're doing now, you've seen some of the partnerships that we brought to the table last year. What we're doing now is kicking off a campaign. We do have memberships, but we also have a campaign where we're getting ready to kick off called Thanksgiving. And Thanksgiving is a campaign where we want to engage with our alumni base, our fan base, those who know and love FAMU and who love our student athletes, where we literally simply and we're on a mission to get 3,000 supporters to contribute $100 one time. This is a one-time ask. This is not something that we'll come back and say, hey, well, we'll keep the campaign going, but we're on a mission to do that, and we believe that that's a reasonable goal. It will help us to make sure we take care of our athletes again across the board, not just football players, not just the high visible sports, but all sports and as many athletes as we can take care of within that budget. So that's what's on the up and up for now. In addition to that, you'll see more content coming this year. We're going to lean into the content creation part of it a lot more. you'll see a lot more things other than just, our typical Thursday night shows where we come in and just have a meeting of the mind. So we'll do that more. We'll do more, lean more into the graphics of things. We'll lean more into opportunities where our fans can kind of interact with our athletic department or students, should I say. So we're leaning more into digging deeper and just deepening in relationship and kind of bringing more people to engage into this. And Eli, I don't know if you have anything else you want to kind of piggyback off of that, but yeah, Thanksgiving is coming, so be on the lookout.
Just two. I got two things real quick. The first one is, like Ashley said, this is a one-time ask. Man, I mean, last year was tough. I'll say last year was tough. We started raising money in April, and I felt like I raised money every month. I came on the show. I did, Just 10. I came on the show again. I talked to the Divine Nine. I mean, man, it seemed like I raised money.
Right.
It's exhausting. Trust me, that was exhausting. So what we decided to do, I talked to Ashley. I said, hey, let's just join forces. I'll be that nonprofit liaison. I'll go completely under the FANG exchange, and let's have a one-time ask for that 3,000 alumni friends, whoever it is, and get that $100. I mean, you do the math. We can take care of all of our sports if we just get that $100, which takes me to my second point. I want to be able to brag different because that's what we do. I want to be able to brag on my alumni and say they gave, that those 3,000 individuals gave that $100. So, we brag different. Everybody knows that. So I want the alumni to step up, and, it seems like the same people are supporting. And so it's time to broaden that, the breadth of who's giving. So we want to put it out on social media. Everybody put on social media, talk to people that haven't given before. So we definitely can continue to brag different. We want those 3,000
absolutely
athletes.
Yeah. Go ahead, Kelvin or Marcus. Any comments or questions you want to ask, or you want to get in there?
Marcus, go ahead.
I guess the first question, now you mentioned in terms of broadening the pool of patrons. Now, what can we expect, I guess, going forward in terms of what that's gonna look like?
You want me to go first, Ashley? Okay, you go ahead.
Okay.
Ladies first.
we've kind of thought about that because, again, a lot of times in any type of giving contribution type situation, a lot of times the smaller percentage does give of the larger people that may even be visible or looking or interested. So a couple of things that we want to do is, we're going to push this campaign. Number one, we're going to push this campaign until we reach our goal. That's number one, because it's an ongoing campaign that won't stop. It's also what we'll do. We'll lean into marketing more, right? So one of the easiest ways to reach out to anybody right now, of course, we know with social media, YouTube platforms such as this one. So we'll lean into making our rounds to those types of or platforms. We'll also lean heavily into the marketing of it because visibility is everything. We'll also lean into our different departments and different extensions of the university that can talk about this and allow us to kind of partner and like for example, I've had an opportunity to speak to our boosters, about FANG Exchange, and we can lean in there. I've had an opportunity Eli has an opportunity. He knows some connect, within the Alumni Association, and we'll lean into some local chapters and things of that nature. So we do recognize that a lot of times, especially here at FAMU, a lot of the same people do give, and the pot sometimes gets stretched and split in 5, 6, 7, 8 ways sometimes. But our goal, we have a vast alumni base and the support base that really just doesn't give at all, or maybe very minimally. So our goal is to put in marketing campaign and clever opportunities and clever ways to brag, and for them to jump in where they maybe didn't see themselves fitting before, that they can find a way to fit in with NIL.
Okay.
I'll add to that real quick. We're trying to get endorsements by some of the larger organizations at FAMU, because you look at some of the larger organizations, I'm not going to put them out here, but they have a lot of members. And once we get those endorsements from those organizations, then maybe the members of those organizations will feel like, they should give. So right now, I've been talking to several of those organizations. They have several questions, and we're getting back with them one by one. So some of these individuals in these organizations don't even really understand NIL. So that's where we have to back up and take it from the beginning and explain to them, this is what NIL is, this is why you should give. And that takes takes me to my second point, which Ashley and I have already talked about, is just like the strike tour. We're talking about going on tour if we have to. Yep. If we have to go to Atlanta, one of our larger markets, and then hit Tallahassee, obviously, and then hit Orlando and talk about NIL, talk about Thanksgiving, then we're ready to do that soon. Now, this isn't something like in the summer, like the strike tour. No, we're about to get on the road the next couple of weeks, and we can talk about the Thanksgiving and NIL, so everyone's educated, and then that way we can reach a larger pool or a larger market.
I see Jimmy Mack had a good idea here about alumni chat. I'm sure these are like ideas. I'm sure that if you haven't already thought of, I'm sure you probably have, about getting the alumni chapters involved as a collective. I'm fascinated by the challenges of athletic administration. And I know Marcus does Marcus. He always sees these great articles, and I'm fascinated. The finances of college athletics, man. But how colleges manage what's out there, because look, we understand what the landscape is. Young men are college athletes, and I don't even want to say it's all football players. It might be basketball, it might be women's athletes as well. The NIL thing and just being able to receive compensation for playing is so prevalent. But then there's also the needs that all of our athletic departments have. What kind of balance, when you talk to people, Ashley? I know the conversation about balance. Yes. And I know I've talked about it. We've talked about it in our various chat groups about how you balance your money. What's that conversation like? What do you advise, endorse, as it relates to that?
Well, we know that we have some needs from our athletic department. I mean, you can just see it, over the years, there are things that we need. And the beautiful thing is that we have a capable athletic director who is attacking those needs with her team in administration to address those things. Whereas myself, Eli, and other individuals who help us behind the scenes are kind of strictly attacking NIL. Now, as an alum who may have a vested interest in all things FAMU athletics, you may feel like, hey, how do I support these things? Well, to me, you need to support what you believe in. That's just my personal belief. If you believe in the tennis team, support the tennis team. If you believe in the athletic department as a whole, just determine your budget and what amount of dollars that you can give back to the school and split it. If it's partially NIL, partially facilities, partially season tickets, things of that nature are the things that are important. But the truth of the matter is that facilities are important. Scholarships are important. Nutrition is important. All the things, equipment is important. And NIL has kind of the new kid on the block as it pertains to the things that are important. But we need to just basically get interactive with all of them and determine how, as an individual, what does your budget look like and what can you offer? Maybe you're a person that can't offer more, you just had not, and now you have another cause. Or maybe you're an individual who can't, but maybe you can say, you know what, I do want to split this thing 3 ways, or I want to split this, what I can do 2 ways. So I don't think we have to think about it real hard, to be honest. I don't think we should get frustrated and just have a centralized focus from your budgetary standpoint. I worked in banking prior a few years back. So I keep it pretty simple for myself and had an opportunity to talk to people. So it's about budgeting and saying, what can you do? You know what you can do most likely. You know how far you can go as it pertains to your budget. So take an opportunity. And that's another reason why Thanksgiving is a one-time ask, because we don't want to keep asking you, to give $100 every 2 months. We do have some members and that's based on their budget. And there are some other things that come with the membership. So we're not discouraging memberships. But if you're a person who's kind of like, well, I don't know what I can do, $100 is right up your alley. Now with Thanksgiving, we do have multiple tiers. We have 4 different tiers, and the higher the tier, of course, the more value you receive with that. So, if you're a person that your budget is larger and your budget allows for you to give more, then do that. But at the bare minimum, we would like to see 3,000 people give $100 at one time. And guess what? Income tax season is here. Take the opportunity to support. Get your season tickets. give into your $100 into Thanksgiving. Give your opportunity to give back to the athletic department or even the university if that's what's important to you. So we don't want to discourage anybody from giving to anything that's important to them, especially if it goes back to the university, because our ultimate goal and desire is to support our university.
Yeah, and let me add this real quick, because I see people are wanting to give, and we definitely don't want to stop them from doing that. But I sent you guys the link. There's a specific link for Thanksgiving. There's some other links that are out there that you may see them on Ashley's site. You may see them on my PYDF site. Those links are not specific to Thanksgiving. There is a link specific for Thanksgiving. This is the soft launch tonight. The official launch is tomorrow. But when you give to Thanksgiving, make sure you click on that Thanksgiving link, so then we'll know, who you are, so we can make sure that you get, if there's something associated with that $100 level, we want to make sure you get that. If there's something associated with the 187, you get that. So make sure you give to that Thanksgiving link specifically, so we can make sure we get in touch with you and get your sizes and get your address, and make sure we get the merchandise and everything that you deserve to you. And then to go back what Ashley just said, the key word is budget, and there is no capital campaign. So when you budget, just give to those entities that you want to give to. And I'll just use myself for an example. I give to, I'm a season ticket holder. Obviously, I give the NIL. Then I give to the Legacy Scholarship for ROTC, and I give to the Health and PE department. I am my own, capital campaign. I just, divvy out the money accordingly. And I just try not to go over budget so I don't get in trouble with my wife, because she did not go to FAMU.
Hey, I'm a wife, so yeah, smart move.
And I did put the link in there. So whether you're watching us on YouTube, whether you're watching us on Facebook, I put that there. Let me see. I may even drop it here into Instagram, or if you're looking on X, you can. I'll see if I can. It's a long link, but anyway, you can. If you go over to, I have, if you might JBN online, you can. I have the live replay. So maybe if you're not watching our show live and you're watching the replay of it, it should show up there in the live chat. Okay, question for you from Hollow. Hollow asked a pretty good question here. What is Fang Exchange doing to combat misinformation? People tweeting for attention. I wonder who's Hollow talking about. Anyway, don't be too messy here, Hollow.
We know where that stems from.
Yeah.
So what we're doing, I will answer that question for Hollow, because that's highly important to us as well. We do not desire to have misinformation put out into the airwaves. It does not help us in our mission. It does not help the student athletes who want to be a part. So first of all, we have an attorney who we consult with. So if it goes to that extent, we hope not, but if it goes to that extent, we'll address that as it comes. But one thing I can say is that you can't entertain everything. I learned that very quickly. Some things, the truth needs no proof. No matter what side of the coin you're on, the truth doesn't need any proof. So you can't entertain everything, but if it goes to the extent that we need to actually entertain it, we will entertain it in the proper manner, and we do consult with attorneys. So we'll leave it at that.
Well said. Well said. Appreciate those of you who have donated, who've taken up Mr. Campbell's challenge. Appreciate you, Steve.
Bryan, can I say one more thing? And it pertains to that. It's actually, and the last part I'll say about that, Hollow, is that that's one of the things that we were actually able to glean from and learn from information, is that when we make sure that we're talking to our athletes who the coaches believe are NIL athletes, who we believe are NIL athletes, character comes into play, right? It's very important to have high character to be able to represent Fang Exchange, be able to represent yourself, to be able to represent Florida A&M and the athletic team that you play or participate in, and you're on a scholarship, whether you are or aren't. It's a privilege to have NIL, especially at this level. It's a privilege to have a scholarship or to be able to be on one of those teams. So you have to conduct yourself as such, and that's one of the things that we are also leaning deeper into, because it's very important to us. It's important to me. High character, representing yourself well. If you do have a conflict, approach it in the appropriate manner and make sure that we're representing ourselves well, because ultimately we still represent our university no matter how we look at it. So that's another thing that we're doing, Hollow, is that we're digging deeper into the character of the athletes that we intend to partner with.
Yep. Nice.
I do have a quick question for Ashley and Colonel Patrick. This is more, and I can't remember if I asked this before. I may have asked it in different channels, but basically you see at the FBS level, even though I know we're not looking at the Ohio State, Notre Dame types of circumstances, but basically they're targeting players either from the G5 level or even some of their peers at the Power Conference level who have accolades as it relates to being all conference or anything of that nature. As part of the strategy or decision making as it relates to sponsoring, FAMU athletes, looking at those who have had good seasons and or those who are potential targets to make sure we don't lose that talent.
You can go ahead, Eli. I've talked a lot.
Yeah. No, that is a part of it, because that is one of the questions that some of the individuals from different organizations ask us is how do we pick the players that get an NIL deal? Well, we go directly to the coaches. We don't decide on which players get NIL. We talk to the coaches and say, okay, which players are you thinking about offering an NIL? Would you like us to offer an NIL contract to? And then what I do my homework. I look at their social media, and like Ash was talking about, they have to be a high character athlete, because if someone's going to stand for the Fang Exchange, if someone's going to be posting on behalf of the Patrick Youth Development Foundation, I want to make sure that they're a leader. I want to make sure they don't have anything crazy on their social media. So that definitely goes into it. But to even answer your question more directly, if you look at the players that had NIL contracts last year with us, is you had Ashton Grable. He had an NIL deal, first team all conference. Bowler had an NIL deal. James Ash had an NIL deal. So several of those players that had NIL deals were the players that made first team SWAC or second team SWAC. And, I guess Bowler is like the poster child for NIL for FAMU right now, because, he's going to, what is it, actually, the Hula Bowl? I think he's
Hula Bowl. I actually talked to him today. He's in the Hula Bowl this weekend. So if you're able to get out there in Orlando, I might be working on something with him that might come up as it pertains to the Hula Bowl. But yes, and I saw some a scout gave some high regards about him in comparison to the other athletes who are actually Power 4, Power 5, PWI level athletes. So he's doing really well in the Hula Bowl.
And also to go along with that answer, the coaches can decide. Like, let's say we raise the $300,000 and we say, okay, now we have $25,000 in the budget for the softball team. If the coach say, hey, I want to go out and get the best 3 pitchers that I can find, and I'm gonna give them, $5,750 each, we can do that. We'll sign into a contract and we'll say how much money they're getting, and it'll just go to those pitchers, because about softball and baseball, it's all about the pitching. Not all about it. I don't want to insult any of the ladies out there that can hit the ball, but we know the importance of pitching. So if that's what the softball coach wanted to do with the money that's budgeted for softball, we will work with the coaches, because we're here to support the student athletes and the coaches. And the good thing is FAMU is having a good run, man. We are having a really good run in a lot of our sports, and we don't, like Ashley used the word poach, we do not want to lose these athletes to other schools. I think we lost our best tennis player last year to another school. Just think if we would have kept her and we got the other young lady.
Yep.
Yeah.
Some kind of grant, or somebody's putting a lot of money toward tennis right now. So we need to match that energy with NIL money.
Correct.
All right, thank you.
That's right. And we just have to make sure that we and our athletes, if we're being honest, a lot of them want to stay. They love the culture, they love Florida A&M. But there sometimes decisions have to be made, whether it's a business decision, whether it's a family, personal decision. Some of them choose to leave for their own reasons, and we don't have any hard feelings about it. But there are most who would like to stay, and we need to show them that we want them to stay through NIL.
Okay, a couple questions coming up here. Love you guys always dropping questions in here. Hollow. So Hollow asked, will there be a ticker to let us know how many donated to Thanksgiving? Yes, Hollow, when you go to the site, please go to the link. Again, I put the link in the chat. Go to the link and you will see right on the front page on the right column gives you a ticker of who the donors are, who are the top donor. It is very transparent, which is awesome. So whether they choose to be anonymous or whether they choose to put their name and where they're from, it is all transparent, you know. But if you choose to be anonymous, you can. But if you want to let people know who you are and where you're from, you can do that as well. And so, yes, it is very transparent, and it even has a goal number. It tells you the amount of money out of 300,000, where we're at, so on and so forth. So it is very transparent.
Yes,
love
it is. And also one thing to add to that, Bryan, is that we're going to bring it to you as well. So again, I mentioned marketing and how we'll kind of lean into social media and content creating and marketing graphics and things of that nature. So there's an ongoing ticker on the website, but we'll also bring it to you, to your fingertips, whether it be Facebook, Instagram, or X or Twitter, as whichever one you determine it to be. So we will keep you abreast. We will build the excitement. There are already people giving, whether it be the challenge that Mr. Campbell put in the chat, or, you know, people have already even told us, because we kind of teased it a little bit before Christmas holiday time on our Thursday night shows, that this has happened. So some people are already verbally committed, and we're just waiting for that physical commitment to happen. So and that's the thing. Spread the word of mouth. I see a comment here that says Celebration Bowl Bound 2025. And this is one of the ways we do it. Not the only way, absolutely not. And we're in the middle of recruiting season. So that portal opens up again in April. It's closed. And we didn't lose much in this last portal cycle, but it doesn't mean that April comes around and players don't choose to get in the portal for one reason or another. So let's give them a reason to stay on it, in addition to being the #1 public HBCU, and that we brag different.
Amen. Well said. And I will echo those comments, not only by Mr. Campbell, but yeah, it's an arms race now. I mean, literally, athletic departments and NIL collectives have to work together in this space to be able to not only recruit but keep talent. Couple of good questions that I see here in the chat. Where's it at? Okay, so EA asked a question regarding the rules. Do NIL rules or policies allow you to offer NIL to a player regardless of a coach's picks?
Yes. If either one of us, if we decide as a board, as a group, that we want us to represent an athlete that the coach may not have on his radar, we could. And I can't say right now that we would or we would not, but we do lean heavily into our coaches and the athletic programs, because we don't want to cause locker room issues. We don't want to cause culture issues. We want to make sure NIL is you know, where its level of importance of where it should be. We are aware. We do know that NIL can sometimes get in the way of winning games and being good teammates. So we don't want that to happen. So that's why, you know, the coaches are the ones in the locker room with these athletes. They see their grades. They see their conduct and their character a lot more than we do sometimes, most times. So that's why we lean into them. But if we honestly thought it was necessary, we sure can.
Another good question, I think. Let's see, from Hollow. Well, we saw what has happened within our own state, not only over at Florida State, but we've seen what's been going on at Florida, where you're seeing players suing NIL. And maybe Ashley and Colonel Patrick, can you maybe talk a little bit about contracts and just the legal stuff that goes along with NIL agreements?
Right. Contracts. So I told you we have an attorney who kind of helps us, you know, determine how we should move in a legal manner. We do, of course, you need to sign contracts. First of all, I don't think that any athlete should move, especially without anything in writing. I'm young, but I'm old school. Like I'm writing that millennial that kind of has that gen, you know, has that baby boomer parents and grandmothers. I don't understand why anyone is making decisions based on verbal commitments. That's number one. That's just a personal thing for me. And I'm pretty sure everybody up here agrees with that. That's number one. Number two, you have to make sure that you're not overcommitting and that you are not going out and making commitments based on promises. And I'm not even talking about the coach to player. I'm talking about donor to coach, donor to program, because donors will make a promise that they may not, fulfill the commitment. So then you find yourself having to keep your word on something that did not follow through. So, and it's a lesson for everyone. Every time there's a new legal action that's taken, that especially we see at the larger scale, and we see it all plaques all over social media, we try our best. It's an opportunity to learn from it. And I'm not saying that we've done everything right leading up to this point. What I am saying is that everything is a learning opportunity. And that's one of them. It's just to be where you have your feet where you are as it pertains to NIL, and don't get overzealous when it comes to what you can offer. Don't allow the pressures of somebody getting in the portal to be the reason you kind of go above and beyond, because if you can find yourself in a situation that you can't keep up with.
Yeah, you can't make promises you can't keep. That's one thing. And like Ashley said, we have contracts with the players. And what I do, I know the young men are over 18 years old, but one of the first things I tell them, talk to your mama. Talk to your daddy. And I get the mom and the dad on the phone, and we talk, as a group. And because some of the players hadn't talked to their parents, I said, you need to talk to your parents before you sign that contract. I know you're over 18 years old, but you talk to your parents before you sign that contract. So that's one thing, because I'm old enough to be their dad. So I'm like, nah, you need to talk to your parents. I know I want my son to talk to me.
That's the excellence with caring.
Right.
With caring right there.
And one thing for certain is I've told, we always tell them, because we really are here, we care. We aren't here to make moves that are disingenuous and not honest. We actually care. We actually want them to be paid. We actually want to see them do well. We want them to be happy, and we want them to win games. So we don't have an ill desire. We don't get paid. We're doing this charitable out of our hearts because we just care. So that's the best place to be in, is to care. Now, and even when you care, things may not always pan out the way everyone would like, but if you just have a heart posture to care and to take care of our athletes, then the rest should take care of itself.
Mm-hmm. Well said. Kelvin, you want to add anything in there? You've been kind of quiet. Don't want to leave you out before we kind of end our segment here with Ashley and Colonel Patrick.
Yeah, I'll just ask both of you all, how did last year go in your mind, being new to the space and getting everything kick off the ground? And you talked about the Thanksgiving, which I put on the platform and on my social media platforms, and I've also donated. But that's why I was quiet. But
you ain't gotta say nothing then. Don't say nothing else. I'm good with that.
No, I just wonder what y'all thought about how things went from the time you implemented the program in this space, and then some things you think you'll do different, or any big things outside of Thanksgiving. I know, Ash, some things you can't talk about. But at least tease the people.
Hey Ash, let me go real quick on this one, because that was a good question. Because since April of 2024, your man, all right, Marcus, you all right over there? You see you on camera. You ain't joking, are you? But but since April 2024, man, it's been a grind. I mean, we have, and Ashley knows, we've been talking a lot on the phone, and our fellow Rattlers to give. But I will say this, it's been very, I don't know if fruitful is the word, but it's kind of, like I had another group of sons that I could watch on the field, because I had a vested interest in those guys that had the NIL contract for PYDF. So it was kind of cool. I looked at the game through a different lens, watching the guys. So I felt more of a connection with them. Which was kind of cool. And, they post stuff, I had little conference calls with them. We talked about leadership. So that part of it was great. you know, I got to know the guys on a different level. I really do appreciate that. But the actual fundraising part was
Very
a
hard.
grind, and that's why I said, Ashley, we got to do something different. We can't do that. We can't do that again. So the one thing that PYDF is doing different is partnering with Fang Exchange, and I'm all in with Thanksgiving. That's what I'm doing different.
Right.
Go ahead, Ash.
And to piggyback off of Eli, when we came into this, we kind of started. We were feeling our way through as anything that's kind of new. And NIL is just so ever changing. So we were feeling our way through. We were together. We me and Eli probably talk more than our spouses, almost the way it feels like since just before summer, and we talk almost daily, if not every other day, as it pertains, and some of the others that we work with, as it pertains to just like, what are we doing? Where are we, staying in check and in line? So to answer your question, I won't sugarcoat it. It was very hard. Learning curve, in addition to fundraising and, time is taken up where, we all have full-time jobs, we have families, we have lives, but we care enough to take on this added responsibility that we chose to take on. So it's no complaint, but the honesty is that it's hard. One of the hardest things literally is the fundraising, and it's not so much to me that people weren't interested from my viewpoint. It was that they didn't understand, and they were kind of hesitant to understand, and also probably just want to see what we were doing, if we're being honest. We were new, and sometimes you got to scope it out. I don't blame you. We Black. You got to scope out the scene to make sure you're not, endorsing, encouraging, or giving into something that's skeptical. We see a lot of sketchy NIL things going on in the space, so it makes it hard for us honest people who really do want things to go right and do things right. So I think that it was a combination of that, but I will say it was difficult. We have a large fan base, a large alumni base, a large supporter group. All we're trying to do now differently is activate those people. And that's where you see Thanksgiving come into play. That's where you see we're talking to more people. And if that means that we're going on a tour, a mini tour for the next 2 months, reach our goal and take care of our athletes, that's what we'll do, because it just means that much to us. So yes, it was hard. And that's why we're here in other platforms and on social media, appealing to the people and to the folks. Give to Thanksgiving, give to Fang Exchange. Make sure you're taking care of the athletes. And we just need to keep it in the front of people and continue to educate. That's another thing we'll do is lean into education. Sometimes it's hard to remember that people don't know what you know. So educate and break it down for everyone.
Y'all make sure y'all are part of the FAMU basketball homecoming, as well as the National Alumni Association convention.
Yes.
Yes,
absolutely. And just a little nugget. I've had some conversations with our basketball counterparts. Not much to say right now, but we might be on to something.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Appreciate you, Marvin. And I echo your sentiments. Salute to Ashley and Colonel Patrick for all you have
done. Can I answer this question?
And doing. Which question? Which one?
I see B Starks asked how do we
Yeah. I had that. That was one of the last two I was going to hit with. So
okay, perfect. I didn't want to lose it.
No. I started. So how does Fang Exchange stack up with other school collectives, or he also said HBCU collectives, so you could go with HBCU schools, low reach, however you want to do it. Are we on pace, ahead, or behind?
We are behind. We are behind in fundraising. We are ahead as it pertains to structure. The structure is there. We just need the activation and everybody to tap in and join the movement. That's really it. The transparency is there, the structure is there. We follow the PWI model. Most people don't know this, but I sat down with the Battles In CEO before we brought this to the forefront. I have his phone number. He's open to helping me understand, how to do this in a manner. Now that other collective was somebody else. It wasn't Battles In, by the way, that got into that trouble. It wasn't
right.
That's a disclaimer, but yeah, we definitely we had a conversation just to see what they're doing, how they're doing it, not because somebody's doing it first. Be humble enough to talk to the people that are already doing it. Mm-hmm. So yes.
And Battles In representing Florida State's collective.
Florida State has 2 collectives. The Battles In is strictly football, but the model is the model. So I had an opportunity to meet with him, made some connections, and I'm telling you, I firmly believe that we have what we need. We just need to activate it. And 2025 for us is a matter of taking it to the next level and soaring this thing like wholeheartedly. We sat down and we learned all that we could learn last year. Now it's time to put it into action and get this thing active to the next level.
And you know what? You know what's fascinating, and I think I mentioned this, Kelvin. We were at the Florida Classic, and I don't know. I know I'm bad at this, and I'm wearing like 20 hats. So is this, you know, I don't have enough. I have a lot of ideas, but just don't have enough fingers and hands. I told Kelvin, as we interacted with so many people at the Florida Classic, right? And I kept thinking, man, I bet you half these people don't know about our show. And I'm like, I felt like I love all of you who watch and listen. And that's why we keep saying, man, if you guys share it with one person, it'll keep spreading. But I kept thinking when I was in that mass of rattlers and family, I'm like, half these people don't know. And I'm sort of an introvert. So I don't just go up to everybody and say, hey, you heard this, and I bet you, I would imagine you kind of feel a similar thing with what you just said regarding NIL. And it's like, how do we engage with all of these rattlers that, yes, they come to the games, yes, they support, but do they really understand how this sauce is being made? Do they understand what the chefs in the back of the kitchen are having to deal with to just be able to put out a good product that makes you feel proud about your university? And I bet half of them don't. And it's like getting them to understand and buy in has got to be hard and challenging.
Yes, it is. And especially in our space because it changes so often. So our biggest goal is visibility, and one of our biggest goals is visibility, and also to make sure that those 80,000 alums and supporters and fans who are out there all across the country and even abroad, that when they hear Fang Exchange, they say, oh, okay, that's NIL. You know, because that's just the start. You have to know about it first. It starts with a thought with the visibility. So that's honestly what we're attacking this year. And the rest, I believe, will take care of itself once we're visible and they know what we stand for.
Yeah, because it's tough just to explaining to people that NIL is separate from the foundation. NIL is not a DSO. You know, it's the DSOs. You know, the way we operate with them is differently from a DSO to a DSO or a DSO to the university. The NIL is just a different entity, and that's where that budgeting comes in. It's just it has to be a different pot of money, and people don't understand that. One of the organizations, they wanted to take money out of their full idea, but I don't think you could do that. So, you know, it was a great idea. They were ready to pull the trigger, but I was like, nah, we can't mix the two. So we got to get out there and educate. And before I'm not cutting myself off, but before we do go, I wanted to say, you know, again, thanks for the opportunity to let us get on the show and talk about Thanksgiving, talk about NIL. This is, you know, just another part of us educating everybody. The good thing is, you know, people that listen to your show, they kind of know what NIL is. It's kind of the experts that watch your show. What we need everybody to do is just like I think you were saying, Bryan, everybody got to reach out to that person that's not listening to the show and educate them on NIL. Let them know we got Thanksgiving going on. What is Fang Exchange? You know, because I run into rattlers all the time that's not a member of the National Alumni Association. They don't have season tickets. They don't even go back to homecoming, which is blasphemy, by the way.
Amen. Agreed.
But you know, I don't want to get on the soapbox. But you know, rattlers gotta know what NIL is, and they gotta know some good things going on, and we definitely want to continue to brag different.
And let me just add, thank you all for coming on and being so prepared with great information. Thank you for all the hard work you put into this thing, voluntary, without compensation. I think it's important to acknowledge that, you know, it's sacrificing and carving your time, because I've done that before too, and do it in some form of fashion now. So I really appreciate it. You all represent the family the way it's supposed to be represented. You know, even though it's voluntary, even though you ain't getting paid, man, y'all doing this thing at a high level, and I just want to say thank you, and I appreciate the work that you all do.
Thank you.
Yep, and I appreciate that, because that's just like the pep talk that I needed. I went to the Hall of Fame luncheon, whatever it is we did at FAMU. 2 boosters that give a decent amount. They had to give me a pep talk because I was ready to give it up for a second there. It was Britt Kendrick. Our board of trustees gave me a pep talk that said, "Man, don't give up. Don't give up," because it's been a grind since April. So Kelvin, I do appreciate that, man. It is not easy.
It's not at all. You're right. We thank you.
All right. I had one other one, and I know this is the last one. Jimmy Mack had asked about injuries and preventing someone from what he said. Does an injury to an athlete preventing them from performing void his or her NIL contract?
Well, I'll speak for me, for PYD, what I've done in the past. It does not. Once I make a commitment to the student athlete, I'm gonna stay with him. If he gets hurt, the only thing, and it's in the contract, it's in the contract. The things that can get them for them to come off the contract is bad behavior, academic, probation or something like that, or if they get kicked off the team, then the contract is null and void. But if they get hurt, no, we're not going to do that. I made a commitment to the student athlete, and I made a commitment to that student athlete's parents. So I'm not going to do that to them.
No, it's more character based. Everything we bring you in based on character. We and if you have to be taken out, like a black mama would say, it's based on character. It's based on character. We're not out here saying, "Oh, you didn't get 2 sacks this game, so we're not going to give honor a contract." It's not anything about that. It's based at most. It's a character clause to make sure that the athletes are representing everybody well.
Right. Good stuff. Ashley, before we let you go, give us an update on the Social House Vodka.
Social House Vodka, that's another thing that we're leaning into as well. We were number 2 in sales behind Wisconsin, and Wisconsin, you can't compete with the state of Wisconsin.
I mean, look, exactly. That's Wisconsin. That's a whole
Wisconsin.
That's a monster.
That's what the Social House. It's one of those things that's a deal that's pretty straightforward. The more the numbers go up, the more accolades you get. So we'll have some more information as the year unfolds as it pertains to that. But we're doing well, and they have acknowledged that.
That had to look good, especially when they look and say, "Yo, you guys are whether they look at it and say you were a small school or whether they say, "Oh, you're an HBCU," I know they got to look like, "Yo, you guys are like number 2," and I'm sure we finished ahead of some P5 power name programs. I'm sure if we finish number 2.
Yeah, it's about 8 or 9 programs, and they're all P5 actually. So we're the only that's non-P5. We're the only collective that's non-P5, and we actually gave them some publicity because he mentioned once they saw us in our announcement that about 15, maybe he said, I believe the number is, that reached out to him kind of interested in engaging in an opportunity like that. Florida State engages with them as well, as we know. We are the only lower level school that they are partnered with at the time. So keep that in mind when you find out that we're number 2.
Hey, look, Edwin, look. Hey, it's cold up in Wisconsin. I don't know the last time you've been to Wisconsin.
No, Wisconsin is like the number 1 state for listen, nobody can compete with Wisconsin.
Hey, lick can go with that cheese real well, boy, when you need to stay warm, I guess. I don't know. I'm just saying. I can imagine it. I grew up in the Midwest. I imagine. All right. Hey, Ashley and Colonel Patrick, again, thank you for coming on and telling us and sharing Thanksgiving with us. Please go donate. More importantly, when you see the social media stuff come out, share it. That's the big thing. We all have our own personal social media presence, and we all don't, we're all, but we have to share. Those of you who are watching the show, you got to share it. You share it on your Facebook pages, your Instagram, your X, your Twitter, whatever you want to call it. You got to share, and that's how we continue to get one Rattler at a time into donating, being involved, and all those things. So make sure you said you're going hard launch tomorrow, right?
Yes, hard launch tomorrow. The link is live now, and hard launch tomorrow. So if you're feeling good tonight, then go ahead and make your move tonight. But a hard launch will be tomorrow on the Fang Exchange show on Thursday, tomorrow at 9 p.m. And we'll flow from there, and we'll continue to keep updates and make sure that we know that everybody knows that Thanksgiving is here and we have a goal to reach.
All right.
Thank you again for having us on. We appreciate it.
Thank you again for coming on tonight. Appreciate you always. And let's have a great 2025 supporting Fang Exchange and FAMU student athletes. All right.
Let's work together. Let's continue to work together.
Working together. Absolutely. That's what it is. All right. Thank you guys.
Appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Appreciate Ashley and appreciate Colonel Patrick for coming on tonight. Marcus has got to check it out. He's got to check out. We've got to finish up with some basketball talk as we wrap up tonight's show. So Marcus, give you the last word before we go to break. Anything you want to close out the show with?
Great information from Ashley and Colonel Patrick. Really enjoyed it. I mean, there's been a lot that's happened in the NIL space and legislation and everything that's coming down. So I'm glad they're staying abreast of it and keeping us up to date, because almost every day there's something new. I'll try to continue to keep tracking the recruiting things, primarily on football. I haven't seen a lot on any of the other sports, but I'll try to keep up to date on that. And looking forward to the spring semester, the spring sports coming on. We're seeing teams starting practice. I know Coach Beal has a camp coming up, and she's actually speaking at an event, I think, in the next couple of weeks. I see where Coach Colsey and Coach Patterson are both speaking at coaching clinics coming up. And I think next week, actually starting Sunday, is the 2025 American Football Coaches Association. Mm-hmm. So hopefully by that time or even before, if we happen to have any staffing announcements, it'll be forthcoming soon. So other than that, just, wishing Rattler Nation the good rest of the week and stay warm.
All right. So Edwin recognizes that you're still alert there, Marcus. So, but
I'm hanging on.
Love the honesty. There it is. Hollow will keep you up to date in terms of offensive line updates going into next week. So we've given. I'm gonna just say rewind a little bit. Go back to segment 1, and we did a real deep dive on all of the commits thus far. So
we haven't had any O-line commits yet.
Oh, well, there you go. That's why. So sorry, Hollow. No O-line commits.
We'll
talk more about the returning players. We'll give you some numbers, because I know that kind of gets into people's minds. You say, well, how many numbers? How many got? Give Marcus a week, and for next week we'll have more of that info. All right.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I can do the spreadsheet. It's a little late now. But the other thing is, depending on whatever announcements or staff changes, you never know who's bringing what to. And Kelvin alluded to this earlier, is that depending on whatever staffing changes are made, if they're coming from some other region of the country or another team, there could be connections that person has made that could be viable candidates that we're unaware of yet because they're not on staff yet. So that's another reason why I have an incomplete, and I know it's kind of a wimp out answer when someone asked earlier about the grade so far, just from my perspective, but there's just so many variables. We don't know who's going to end up signing or coming in, because all these things, not only externally from all the changes, the seismic changes in the portal and NIL and JUCOs getting extra year availability, but depending on the staffing changes, we could have people that we didn't have access to before, didn't have connections with, that now make a strong consideration because of their relationship with an incoming coach.
Well said. All right. Marcus will be back next week. Make sure you follow him at Decatur_G on X. And Marcus, man, always appreciate your time. And everybody else, you hang tight with us. Don't go too far. We're going to wrap up the show here and give some love to the basketball programs, kind of update you on the home opener that took place this past Saturday at the Lawson Center. And then the Rattlers are coming. They're coming out your way. They're coming out to Louisiana. They're coming out to take on Grambling and Southern. We'll talk about that here on the other side. You're watching the O&G StrikeZone right here on the Black College Sports Network. We'll be back in just a moment.
Looking for the ultimate cultural experience of 2025? The Zora Outdoor Festival of the Arts is where you need to be. From January 31st to February 2nd, Eatonville, Florida will come alive with incredible live performances from the Levert Experience and the Bar Cave. Immerse yourself in interactive art. Shop from over 80 vendors. Take a journey through history with a new virtual tour app. And enjoy family-friendly STEM activities. Plus, don't miss the unforgettable R&B tribute to the legends, honoring talents such as Whitney Houston, Marvin Gaye, and Luther Vandross. This is more than a festival. It's a celebration of Eatonville's rich cultural heritage. Visit zorafestival.org for tickets.
Y'all, it's your girl Sonia from She Say Sports. Make sure to check us out every Friday morning at 9 a.m. on Black College Sports Network, YouTube, and Linktree. And please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube page.
Morehouse College and Tuskegee University men's basketball teams were selected to compete in the 2025 NBA HBCU Classic presented by AT&T. The fourth annual NBA HBCU Classic will be played in the Bay Area as part of NBA All-Star 2025 and will once again celebrate the rich traditions, on-court athleticism, and commitment to excellence of the HBCU community. For tickets, visit nba.com/all-star.
Welcome back to the O&G StrikeZone. Bryan and Kelvin here to close out the show tonight. Kelvin, I was just looking at that last ad regarding the HBCU Classic. How cool would it be to see one of our basketball programs, featured in one of these exposure events, like the Chris Paul Classic or, that NBA themed NBA. How cool would that be?
Very, very cool. I'm excited about the rest of this season, but really where we project probably going into next year and scheduling, recruiting, and so forth. But let's get past this season first.
Yes, indeed. Okay. For those of you who attended, or those of you who may have watched on Raptors Plus, the SWAC basketball home opener was on Saturday against our rivals, Bethune-Cookman. And the women, the Lady Rattlers, led from start to finish and defeated Bethune-Cookman 62-54. The men, a good game, pretty much an even game. Then the score would look at, you might think, oh, it wasn't even. No, with about 2 minutes to go, FAMU had a 55-54 lead on a big-time three-pointer by Milton Matthews. That's who you see right there in that graphic on the right side, Milton Matthews, who transferred from St. Thomas with Coach Crary. Big-time shot. He had a good night, 20 points. But unfortunately, down the stretch, Bethune went on an 8-0 run to close out the game in the final 2 minutes. We ended up losing 62-55. Before we get into sort of hold on. Before I go to the game, let's kind of go. I got some pictures here, Kelvin. I want to show the people. One of the first things that I noticed when I walked into the building was the layout. Which, as you can see, outside of the court, you see that area to the right. That would be the new court. What's that officially called, Kelvin? The Courtside Club.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, something to that effect. And something like that used to be at the baseline where you had a section. If you're familiar with graduation and convocations, and how the stage would be in a place in the baseline area that those tables in that area for food and drinks would be there. But this year they moved about 2,000 seats. That green section to the right there, they moved about 2,000 of those seats. Moved them back, so that way it gave people who wanted to purchase those seats at those tables. I think each one of them probably was about $250 for the season. And I will say it was packed. that section was packed. It was a good crowd, and hey, why not? You know, when you think about what our crowds were, I mean, you know, I didn't go into the numbers of what we averaged, but I think we can't. This is a net positive in terms of, yeah. So good stuff there. Nice setup and how that is set up. But and you still had 3/4 of the lower bowl, which is the section in green, that was still there. You can see if you look at the bottom of that picture, you see the Marching 100. The Marching 100 pep band was in the building, so that was cool to see. You had the DJ, and then you had the Marching 100 pep band. Yeah, so I thought, yes, indeed, I thought it was a great marketing move by AD Suggs. I gave her props. That was cool. I saw her when I walked in the door, and had some good friends that were sitting in those areas. I saw some trustees. I saw former and current FAMU presidents in the building. So
me too.
Yeah, you saw that, right? That was pretty cool. It was nice to see. Nice to see. Anything you want to add about the setup there?
No, I agree. It was a nice setup, and I believe they only have this setup for the home double headers, the Saturdays game, which of course makes sense. It's too much of. We always talk about capacity and cost. You know, you wouldn't get your money back. It wouldn't be worth the cost to try to do it on those single night games during the week.
Right.
So yeah, I think it's a great idea. It was very well executed. The folks who went down to it, who sit with me in my area, you know, they all were very complimentary of everything. So yeah, I think it's a nice. And once the students get back, and you know, it's going to fill in and give it more of a intimate feel. And then I heard somebody say, "What's the sideline like?" Well, there's nothing in between you, but between you and the court.
Hey, look,
so,
this photo I took sitting at the table. I'm sitting right next to Melvin Beal. Shout out to Melvin Beal, the voice of Raptors Plus. He and Al Chester did a great job. So I'm basically sitting at the media table. So behind me, look, I'm not that tall or that big, but I mean, they have good. It's a good sight line. You'd be surprised how good a sight line that is. And I mean, obviously, if you wanted to look at it and kind of see, okay, a 3-point shot, I mean, you could always look up. There's a nice board that you could look up and see, or you could stand up. I mean, really, you could. I mean, well, nobody gonna fuss at you if you stood up. I mean, it's kind of a cool atmosphere.
Yeah, folks were dancing, you know, doing the latest steps and slides, and
yeah, exactly.
You know, they enjoy themselves, man. I think it's great, and I like to see HBCUs try new things and be kind of innovative. I think that was nice.
Right. There you can see Coach Pressure, Coach Gordon looking great, looking fabulous. I love the orange outfit, though. I mean, that was hot. I mean, Coach Gordon looking great. You can see the coaches there. Of course, you see a good friend, Coach Cromartie there, Coach Erica Cromartie there on the bench. You saw the ladies in the new uniforms, and then, of course, post-game, I'm sitting there. I had to come take a picture. Melvin Beal there on the right, the voice. And this is post-game with Coach Gordon. And I think that might be her nephew, probably her nephew. So he's got a great smile, energetic young man. So very, very cool to see them there.
Shout out to Coach Pressure. You know, once the game was over and she came back out for the men's game.
Oh, yeah. Networking, hanging out, talking with people.
The DJ was playing. the DJ found her song and she was busting the move too.
Did she? Okay. See, I missed all that. I missed all that. I missed all that. Yeah, so it's pretty cool. So yeah, I think a lot of you guys are seeing the setup is pretty good. I know Kelvin, you guys normally sit in that orange level right above where they're pushed in, and so even sitting up there, it's still great sightlines.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there is not. Look, be honest, folks. There is not a bad view in the Lawson Center. Again, one of the most beautiful arenas in basketball, I think. And I mean, it's perfect. It is a perfectly designed setup. It really is.
Yeah, agreed.
All right. Let me talk about the game. This young lady right here, Cheyenne McEvans. She's a bucket, man. This young lady right here. Hopefully you got a chance to see our post game. I did some post game videos. I got a chance to go to the post game press conferences. If you missed it, I would encourage you to go to our O&G StrikeZone YouTube page. That's at O&G StrikeZone. You can go and see the YouTube page, and you can see the post game with Coach Gordon and Cheyenne McEvans. Played 39 of 40 minutes, 23 points in the game, 8 of 14 from the field, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, 4 steals. The one thing that characterized this game, 2 things for me, Kelvin, and then you let me know your thoughts. First off, the ladies started out with a 17-2 run. That was awesome. And I think we saw them not only play man-to-man pressure, we saw them play some full court 2-2-1. I think they might even played a little 1-2-2. But we've heard her talk about the kind of pressure that she wants to implement and put on teams. I think we saw it. That was the first time that I actually saw it. And I saw her use the personnel that she had to the best of their capability. That was the first thing. So that run was helpful. The second thing, there were a total of 70 turnovers in this game. And sadly, each team committed 35. So I know Coach was talking about she's going, look, as much as she was happy about the win, she was not happy about 35 turnovers. And I'm sure Bethune-Cookman's coach wasn't happy as well. But out of that 35 turnovers that we committed, Kelvin, I think probably maybe only 10 were like WTF turnovers. Like, I mean, the rest of them were, I thought, either effort or we were trying to make the play, or maybe there was just a little miscommunication. But so with that said, but again, Cheyenne's got a great story. I'll tell more about her story in a second. Kelvin, what are some of your takeaways from this game?
So my takeaway is going to be similar for both games, actually. This particular game, we get off to a fast start, and part of the reason we get off to that fast start is the press and the turnovers. And we made the game an up and down game. When we get in half court, because, you know, we still without a couple of players, Delancey and the little point guard.
Purifoy.
So
Purifoy.
We don't, tonight for Purifoy. So we don't have we don't play a lot of true point guards. We play a bunch of shooting guards and small forwards. So when we get in a half court game, we struggle, frankly, right now. You know, so we still I think Cheyenne and Hendricks are probably going to be our closers and our bucket getters in the half court.
And Sabu Gay as well.
But we still developing that. And then what's the young lady who transferred from the Middle Georgia?
Demaya Griffin.
Yeah, she had open looks, man. Her shot just would not go in that game for whatever reason.
It was a tough shooting night, no doubt.
Yeah,
man.
yeah. So you know, we just gotta get the reason they got back in the game because they were able to withstand the original rush of turnovers and game slowed down, and they didn't turn the ball over as much in the second quarter. And then, you know, everybody settled down, the rival kicks in, And like I say, it was a sloppy game by both teams with the turnovers and not high percentage shooting, particularly from three-point line.
Neither team shot worth a doggone from the 3-point. It's almost like you almost wanted to be like, stop shooting it. Stop shooting from that distance.
I think what they made combined three-pointers out about 30 something.
Hold on, I'm gonna pull it up. Hold on, I think you might be right. Let me see.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
Bethune was 2 of 13. We were 1 of 16. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's 3 of 30 something. 39. Yeah.
So it wasn't a beautiful game, but you know the end result was beautiful, and the fact that we could, without a couple of players, both who would be potential starters, and to play and still be able to pull it out is good. Now the thing is, we're on the road now. We got to have a much cleaner and better effort on the road. We got to shoot the ball better, and we got to limit those turnovers. So that and I know coach is working on it, and the ladies are working on it. So, and they get a little extra time because of the bad weather. So instead of playing Thursday, they're gonna play They playing 2 double headers now. So they play at Grambling, then they play at Southern.
Yeah, they were supposed to play tomorrow at Grambling. That game got rescheduled due to the weather. So now it's a part of the men's doubleheader. And if you guys have been paying attention to the scroll, I'll put it back up. I had it on the scroll as well. So they play the men and the women were already scheduled to play Southern doubleheader, and now it'll move to a Grambling doubleheader on Monday. Before I move off the women, I got to shout out Cheyenne McEvans again. I was talking to Gerald at the media row there at that table, and I was asked, we were kind of talking about Cheyenne, and I went back and looked into her player profile. Last Saturday was her first conference game since January of 2023. When she was a transfer from Syracuse. Syracuse, of course, part of the ACC. She had an ACL. Obviously, you see the brace there on her right leg, right knee. So she hadn't played a game since January. I think it was January, or maybe even, I think it was January of 2023. She set out all of last season at Syracuse. She transfers to FAMU, wanted to come to FAMU, wanted to be a part of what Coach Gordon was building. And her story, I mean, you could tell. I love talking to her post game, and we're working on trying to get Cheyenne to come on the show. But you could see she was so excited and happy to play a meaningful game. And again, we're talking meaningful. We understand what our non-conference is, right? But this was the first meaningful game of the season, and to get a win to open the season, that was huge. And I think it's the first time we've opened the season 1-0 since our first season in the SWAC when we beat Bethune then too. So Cheyenne,
and we are on a 4-game winning streak.
Thank you, 4-game winning streak. Indeed. There you see some of the other scores in the SWAC. From Saturday around the women's landscape. And then there you go. There are the standings for the women right now, with FAMU sitting right up there at the top, 4-8 record overall, sitting right behind Alabama A&M, the only team that that is over 500. That should be a good contest this weekend. I think Alabama A&M versus Jackson State. That's going to be the feature women's basketball game on Saturday. But we play Southern, so it'll be Edwin. What are y'all looking like? What y'all women looking like, Edwin? So we got y'all. We coming to Southern, so coming to Baton Rouge. What they call it, the Baby Dome, I think is what they call it. So, but anyway, anything you want to add there before we move over to the men?
No, we can move on to the men now.
All right, just a quick mention again. The men, you see Milton Matthews right there, played 35 minutes, dropped 20 points. Good stat line, 7 of 15, 4 of 11 from the arc, 2 of 2. I think this was his best shooting night. This was the Milton Matthews that coach knows, because he averaged 18 a game when he was at St. Thomas playing for him the last 2 seasons. And so we saw it tonight. Now the men were missing a couple of guys as well. Matter of fact, I think we're missing probably 2 starters, if I'm not mistaken. Jordan Chapman and Washington. So how would you characterize the end of the game, Kelvin? Because again, going up on Milton's shot, I don't know if that's the exact shot, but it feels like it might have been, because it was on that side of the floor. So that might have been the shot where we went up by 1 with about 2 minutes to go.
Same thing. We're a 3-point shooting team. That's coach thing. And we shot 24% from behind the arc. Now we got off to a good start in this game too. Had, I think, a 10-point lead in the first quarter at one time. And had lost, I think, gave it all back by halftime. But 3-point shooting. Coach mentioned that he wanted to shoot over 70% from the free throw line. We shot under that. We shot 66%. Turnovers was even 15-14, and steals was pretty much even 7-6. So what it really came down to, and you got to remember, Bethune is a good team. They're expected to be a top 3 team, if not a top team. They have a win over South Florida. So without 2 starters is a good showing. But we didn't have a closer. We didn't have a go-to guy at the end of the game. And again, that's developing. This team is new. Coaches are new. They're still learning. So now we go on a road. Grambling gonna be really hungry because they off to a start that they didn't anticipate. You remember now they didn't finish champions, and I watched the ending of that Texas Southern game that they played, and they kind of just choked that one away. So we're gonna have to come to play Southern's really competitive team. So it'll be interesting to see if we can get a win on the road.
I'll say this, EA bringing up, we have to look. Coach went the start of the second half with 2 bigs. And if you're not familiar with our roster, we've got a 6'11" and a 6'10". Of course, Eatman, who's one of the 3 returners from last year, I think he's 6'10", and is it? Hold on, I'm going through the roster now. I know it when I see it. Charles, Jameen Charles, who's 6'11", and both of them I think are really nice big men. Both of them, they handle the ball well. But Coach even said in the post game, which you can go see the post game press conference with Coach Crary on our O&G StrikeZone YouTube page. He pointed out the fact that the guards got to give those 2 the ball. The guards have got to be active in deciding to give those 2 guys the ball. But I think he said he's seen enough positive playing the 2 bigs on the floor. Remember, the first time we saw it was against Florida, and Florida just knocked off the number 1 team in the country.
Blew them out.
Blew them out at home. Yeah, we played on that same floor and we were more competitive. But anyway.
Yeah.
But Coach, I think you're going to see that 2 big lineup more. And now our guards have to be able to give those guys the ball so that they can do something offensively, because they are pretty good. I think Charles and Eatman. So Jameen Charles, number 20, and Jadarius Eatman, number 24.
Agreed. And my problem in watching the men right now early is the one-on-one. We don't have guys that are great one-on-one players to create their own shots. And we have a lot of dead possessions where one guy gets the ball and he dribbles for about 10, 15 seconds and jack up a 3. So if we can minimize and limit that will keep teams from being in striking distance, because that's how Bethune really got in striking distance, with those dead possessions. And because we didn't have the big lineup in, those quick, those 3-point shots lead to fast break opportunities with the long rebounds and the outlet pass. So they had a lot of easy baskets because of those that 24% shooting. So that's the one thing. That's why I would like the big lineup. You're right. Both big men do have good hands. Now I would say one is more skilled than the other one.
I agree.
One is more of a defensive and rebounding guy. But yeah, I think we make that tweak. You know, we'll have a chance to beat anybody on any given night.
Yeah. I agree with you 100%, Edwin. I don't understand why the SWAC is playing rival games the first week of the season. I might have to reach out to somebody in the SWAC to figure out why.
Well, both the AD and the head coach, I think, have all communicated that they've already spoken with the SWAC office to try to make sure that doesn't happen next season.
Yeah, hopefully. Well, again, just to let everyone know, you'll see on Saturday, the women play Southern at 3:30 Eastern. The men will play at 6 o'clock. Edwin, are those games on pay-per-view? I know the Southern have a pay-per-view. If so, put that in the chat. What is the cost on the pay-per-view? Because I don't think those games are on the SWAC digital network. So that's the Saturday schedule. And then on Monday, the teams will go from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, head north to take on Grambling, where the women play Grambling. Grambling, of course, am I right? Yeah, they were the defending. Nope. Who was the defending women? Yeah, it was Grambling. No, it wasn't. Who won the women? Why can't I remember who won the SWAC women last year? Anyway.
One of the Texas schools?
I don't know. It was Jackson State last year. Last year. But Grambling was like number 2 or 3 seed, something like that. So on Monday, the women are at Grambling. That game is a 6:30 Eastern tip. The men follow 8:30 Eastern. Oh my goodness. Edwin says they aren't showing a broadcast. There's no way. That's crazy. How are they not showing a game? I don't know. Somebody, you need to call some. We need to send a team. We need to get the BCSN out there and send a team to Baton Rouge. Somebody needs to be broadcasting that game for Southern. Oh man. Okay. Well, make sure you're following at FAMU Athletics or the men or women's basketball. I'm sure if they get a broadcast partner, that'll get what is this EACN? Do you guys know why some teams are only playing once, such as JSU? Well, because you have a 12-team conference and you're only playing, I think, 18 games. So if you do the math, there's 11 opponents. You're only going to play some people once. I mean, it just, that's just how it rolls. Edwin, EA. That's not uncommon in these larger conferences. I mean, imagine if the SWAC and I'm saying win because I think it'll happen, when the SWAC goes to a 20-game conference schedule. You can play everybody twice when you're in the MEAC because the MEAC only has an 18 basketball tournament. So that's 7, 14. You're only playing 14 conference games at that point. But yeah, so I think it just it does rotate. So, this is the one year that Jackson State, Alabama A&M are only going to play one time. But, it is what it is. Okay. All right. As I mentioned, one other final note. You see it in the scroll. The track and field athletes are back on the course on the track Saturday in Birmingham at the UAB Blazer Invite. So if any Rattlers are in the Birmingham or Alabama area, get over to UAB and go support the men and women's track program. I wonder what the weather will be like in Birmingham to make that. And it's indoor track, so let me rephrase that. It's indoor track, so it's not like it's going to matter.
It's indoor, right?
I just thought about that
unless you can't track, unless it's snowing and you have trouble getting to the
you can't get there. Yeah,
to the arena.
Yeah, so that who knows? We'll see. We'll see how weather affects games. We've already seen a lot of the games that were scheduled for Thursday get postponed. We'll see what happens. hopefully the weather breaks and it works out. All right. Heavy show tonight, man. Kelvin, anything we left out? Anything you wanted to add here as we get ready to close up?
No, man. No, I think we covered it all.
We did. We tried. Thank you again to Jacquay Nunnally, class of 2025, going into the Black College Football Hall of Fame. So we appreciate him coming on and joining the show. You guys be looking out for the Hall of Fame induction in June, as well as seeing him at the Legacy Bowl at the end of February. Speaking of bowls, shout out to Kendall Bowler participating in the hula. That's in Orlando. I got to go check that out. If I got to check out what time that is, see if I meant to call his dad and see if I can find out what time that is and get over and go show some support. But yeah, shout out to Kendall participating in the Hula Bowl this weekend right here in Orlando, where I'm at. And again, thanks to Ashley and Colonel Patrick and introducing us or sharing the debut of Thanksgiving, the initiative to try to raise $300,000 to support the NIL collective, Fang Exchange, which is the first NIL collective for FAMU Athletics. I would encourage all of you to go check out the link in the chat to go support. Appreciate Mr. Campbell and those of you who have already supported and you met Mr. Campbell's challenge, but I know more of you will donate as you go. So we want to encourage you to find $100 to donate to the NIL program one time. One donation of minimum $100 goes a long way when all of us decide to come together and strike with a purpose. So with that said, that's going to do it for tonight. For Marcus Green, Kelvin Rozier, I'm Bryan Fulford. Thank you guys for watching the show. Please share the show with your friends or family. Go check out the BCSN Pod Zone, where all of the shows that are part of the Black College Sports Network air, all on your favorite podcast platform: Spotify, Amazon Music, Google, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio. Just search BCSN Pod Zone. All right. Yes, Gale softball. There are camps, Coach Beal's camps. I think it's there it is right there. Thank you, Gale. Make sure to give one little shout out again. Coach Beal softball camp.com for prospects. January 18th and January 19th are the youth softball camps. So that's I think this weekend she's up at Atlanta working with the minority softball prospects camp. So she's in Atlanta this weekend and next week. And yes, baseball and softball are right around the corner. So we'll be talking more. We're waiting on the official schedule, but we kind of teased the baseball schedule last week. We're waiting on it to be official. All right. So now we're done. Thank you guys for watching the show. Appreciate you. Love you. Fangs up. Rattlers, make sure to strike, and strike again. Be well. Good night, everybody.